So, you're heading home for Thanksgiving, but your family supports Trump. Not good. So, you're probably wondering, how can I show them I'm a good, tolerant person, and they're all terrible, intolerant people? And how can I find common ground with these rednecks who are literally Hitler? Well, you're in luck. Because I, too, am a good person who likes to share my superiority with those around me. Today, we're going to show you how to talk about Trump with your racist uncle this Thanksgiving. First, try slowly and articulately explaining to him how he is a racist, a bigot, a Nazi, and just an overall garbage person. You can even use simple visual aids if you want to. Next, you can help educate your backward, bigoted family members by handing out copies of Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. This thoughtful holiday gift will endear them to you and open up the door for more conversation later. Now, sometimes your family might disagree with you and attempt to use far-right tactics, such as facts and logic. Counter this with a powerful haka dance. Fourth, you can easily get through to these MAGA bigots, or maggots for short, by reenacting the entirety of Hamilton. Let it never be said that you threw away your shot. Here's a good one. When your arguments just aren't getting through to them, try screaming at the sky. Simple, but effective. Tip number 6. When you're encountering opinions you disagree with, just run away to a secure location. You might call it a space that is safe. If someone follows you there, then go somewhere else, and so on and so on. And finally, and perhaps most effectively, just start a good food fight. It works every time. Use these simple tips, and you'll convert your MAGA family in no time. Because you're right, and they're Nazis. Good luck out there, fellow member of the resistance. If you have any other helpful tips in dealing with your maggot family members, just leave them in the comments down below. Or shout them at the sky. Works every time.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I hope that you had a phenomenal, exceptional, mind-blowing Thanksgiving in all the best ways possible, obviously. As for me, I warned everyone yesterday we're going to be doing a late show. Let everyone get football out of the way. The last game was a bit of a dud there. I'm not sure if it even started like right before it finished. I tried letting it finish. That is why we started late. I was ready here with Jim from like 11:15 or so. We were just golden and like in a zone. What I want you to know, if you have the good fortune of having stumbled on my show, in particular this evening, you're going to walk out of here. You stick with me. You're going to walk out of here with a better understanding about certain things than you had before. This is what I'm telling you now. That is particularly the issue as to why this is all Biden's fault. I'm referring to the shooting of the 2 National Guards. I'm going to break down for you exactly what Trump was talking about and with respect to that particular issue. And we're also going to be looking at why it is that everything he said there, that he says, in very layman's terms as to how it's impossible to get them out. I'm going to walk you through why that is, why it's so difficult to remove. In fact, how hard he tried to remove these people, and that this is 1,000% on Biden and his administration and the left, which fought like lunatics to make sure that Trump could not remove the likes of this deranged shooter who carried out such an evil act just yesterday. So that's first and foremost. I'm gonna be breaking that down for you. But there's a lot of new facts that came out today about the shooter, including that this guy worked with the CIA. Crazy stuff. and a whole bunch of other stories I need to break down for you, including a claim by one university that whiteness is a pandemic. That's right, it is. So, with that, it's time for us to get started with our show. And there's just one thing we need to do first, and that is for me to bring on in here my good buddy.
Hey, what's up?
I don't know what the hand thing is every time.
I don't know.
It's like a Fonzie type.
I'm trying to create like
you're trying to find your groove.
Or create a viral thing where someone will be like, somewhere it'll be like, look at this guy, and he was doing like, I don't know.
All right.
I'm trying to go viral, as the kids say, but not in a way where I have to take penicillin.
Right. They got jabs for that sort of thing. How was your holidays, brother?
Oh, it's great. It was great.
Nice
food.
You had nice food.
Yeah.
Turkey,
stuffing, green bean casserole, all that stuff.
Stuffing.
Well, dressing. I like dressing. I don't like the stuffing inside the turkey. I like it in a pan separate. I don't like it in the turkey.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what makes it like the best. That's the that's the saving grace of turkey is the fat laden stuffing. That's what makes Thanksgiving.
Well, no, you boil I boil the neck and the back and all the gizzards and everything, and then boil that and then use that to make the stuffing and the gravy dressing. But I don't. I only put just the breast on the smoker and the legs. That's it. I think they call it what's it called? Hatch cocking or something like that. Half cocking, where you cut it off and some kind of something cock. You split it open and spread it and put it down. Half cock, splat cock. I don't know. You cut it, and I know how to do it. I don't know how to talk about it.
None of this sounds remotely appetizing.
Spatcocking, yeah. Spatchcocking.
Spatchcock. That cannot be a real word.
It is. I didn't just make it up.
Apparently.
If I made it up, all these people are in my same delusion as me.
Apparently, you got like a whole bunch of family members in the chat here. That's what I'm assuming. They're like, oh, no, of course, it's spatchcocking. Happy Thanksgiving, Phil Coggins. And Daniel Weimus. Has been a rough year. Sorry about that, brother. You'll never know the difference your positive messages on self and family have helped. Thank you, sir. Well, that's so heartening. That's really, I really try to give out a positive message, something that I feel is true and that I can share that gives some positivity. I really, really try to do that, because I feel like I always talk about how the following is about greater personal growth. I think that helps lead towards greater personal growth. Like when we're dealing with difficulties in our lives, being able to find ways to overcome that and move forward and not get crippled by our own depression, sadness, insecurities, things of that nature, and find a way to build ourselves up. That's a form of personal growth, which is perhaps the most essential and most necessary in today's era. In today's era, unlike any era historically, that is the prevalent malady that is strickening the West in particular. And to the extent I can help people fight through that, I know those difficulties. I myself have dealt with those difficulties. I myself to this day sometimes I have to fight off those difficulties. I fight through that. Not that I'm like, thank God, I've never been like, clinical depression type of thing, but there are times I'll feel myself in like a rough patch where I'm like, I just don't feel right. And I always try to find ways to buck myself up. And I feel like if I can help lend a message like that out to my audience, like I'm actually helping people, and I'm actually, I create my own significance. So getting feedback like this from you Daniel, is actually very heartening. And I thank you for that. Before we get in on the whole CIA thing, did you saw this thing that Tim Pool was saying
about Soros?
Yeah, about the effort to
seditious six.
Like this thing here. I need you guys to just see.
You think it's really odd too that they go by the SS, the seditious six?
They don't go by the seditious.
They call themselves that. That's what they say. We're the SS.
They were labeled
They
that.
were marching. They were doing this marching and stuff, and they keep like waving, like, "Hey, hi, you doing?" and stuff.
We
and,
labeled them the sedition. You think they're engaging in sedition? That's like,
well, okay, now you're making too much sense.
oh gosh. Okay.
I like living in my fantasy world.
Tim Pool shared this out. And this was something that kind of blows your mind. And I think he does a great job of breaking down why this is so significant. Now, Tim Pool is someone who is always, he's kind of like Chicken Little in a beanie, where like the sky is falling all the time, and there's insurrection and there's civil war is coming. So this is another time that he's saying civil war is coming. I don't know if it's a civil war, but this is definitely designed to weaken us. It's purposefully designed to weaken us and to basically, you're priming the meat to get pulped. You're priming the meat to get punched and to get knocked down. Here's how he explains.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just stress that this story that is emerging may be one of the most horrifying that I have seen in a long time. You may be wondering what this image I have on screen is. It is part of a campaign to create factions within the military to defy Donald Trump and foment civil war or a military coup. I'm not exaggerating. To be fair, to hammer everything looks like a nail. But for what purpose?
That's Tim admitting that, hey, I'm always talking about how there's civil war. So you might say that to me, everything looks like civil war. So, but now he's been trying to defend why this time it's really something to really think about. What were you going to say, brother?
This is like this is the same type of stuff that happened in the early 1860s. It really is, but it's more extreme now because of the internet, because of social media. The word spreads faster, but this is exactly what the Democrats were doing prior to the firing on Fort Sumter. It really is. I mean, we're waiting for that moment to happen at this point.
That's what we need to basically, that's such a great visual to just come back to, like, how Democrats are all about. The Democrats in the South are basically trying to rise up again.
They're not happy.
Here come the Democrats trying to rise up and start a civil war again, just like 1860, all over again.
They don't want their indentured servants, whatever you want to call these illegals that they have working, in their houses and stuff for, less than a living wage.
Yeah, we keep hearing about Germany. They're just Democrats from the 1860s.
If you actually look into that whole Germany, they took a lot of their cues from the Democrat Party.
Oh yeah.
It's widely admitted,
Yeah. All right. So let's hear the rest of what Tim is going on about here.
Have been Democrats calling on people to, quote, pick an effing side.
Pick a
That's a
side.
senator from Connecticut who said that. For what purpose have Democrats been calling all of Trump's orders illegal, dictatorial, fascistic, and then calling on servicemen and women to defy the chain of command? This makes no sense. If it's no big deal the National Guard were deployed to our city streets and not doing anything but picking up trash, why do Democrats pretend to care? Here's the story. These billboards have been popping up reportedly across the country. It says, did you go airborne just to pull security for ICE? Not what you signed up for.org. This is illegal. It is a crime. I'm not exaggerating nor being cute. I have the law pulled up. This is an effort to foment factions within the military ranks so that they defy the chain of command. Secretary of War, or the president himself.
That's exactly what they want. They're hoping. Why would you do this otherwise? You're literally trying to encourage people to basically tell their CEO, no, I'm not doing this.
I'm going to show you exactly where this goes. We're going to pull up this website, but I need to say this right now. If Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and the DOJ do not go after these people that are putting up these messages, this is the biggest, the most impactful escalation towards civil war we have ever seen in our generation. The fact that there are nonprofits being funded with billboard campaigns instructing our men and women in uniform to defy the chain of command. And I'm not gonna be cute with you guys. We know the intention. They're not explicitly saying, hey, don't do it, but you don't get to play this wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Here's the billboard. You can see it.
And I'll share with you the site there, which is notwhatyousigunedup.org. This is them. This is them. Notwhatyousigunedup.org. You saw the billboard. You have questions, but you're not alone. First, this is how they tell you to proceed. This shows you how they know that what they're doing here is illicit. Watch what they tell you to do if you're a member of the military and you want to become part of their organization. Here are proactive steps you can take to reduce risk. Be sure to access resources from a personal device, not a military or government computer, email account, phone, or Wi-Fi. Use encrypted Proton Mail email accounts. Use Signal app for encrypted texts and calls. Use a VPN like NordVPN. It's unbelievable. They're basically trying to tell you this is how you can discreetly try to get away with doing something that you know is designed to cripple our government. I mean, this is support resources for service members. These are the other resources, which, I mean, I would look into what this GI rights hotline is, if it's the actual one or it's some Democrat, some crazy leftist.
No, that's their crazy leftist thing. It's telling them it's counseling for service members on their legal rights and discharge options, including conscientious objectors, telling them how to get out of the military, how to either get, I think it's called an Article 71 or Article 81 or something like that, where you can get other than honorable discharge for, you say, I don't want to be in anymore, and it's not a dishonorable and it's not an honorable, it's just to get out.
About Face, which is an organization of service members and veterans that connects service members who have legal and moral questions about their mission with peer counseling, legal support, and other resources, and the National Lawyers Guild Military Law Task Force, which provides legal information and advice to service members, including guidance on refusing legal orders, dissent, discharges, and other military law issues.
The National Lawyer Guild are those green hats that you see at all the Antifa protests.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. These people are scum. They call themselves patriotic, and when their whole objective is to basically weaken our country as much as possible. That's what they're looking into. Because they don't like who's running the country, so they're going to try and weaken the country as much as possible. And then if there are problems, because we will weaken military, then they'll be like, oh, you see, it's all Trump's fault. They create basically a disaster situation like they did with this shooter who bringing him on in here. And then when tragedy results, they say, oh, you see, happened on your watch. They're sickening. Speaking of sickening people, I should give you a heads up. I mentioned it in locals, and I'll tell you all now that I am going to be debating Destiny and another person called Soy Pill. I don't know who he is. Soy Pill and Destiny on Sunday evening on some Discord channel. The topic is going to be, they say their objective is that they're saying Trump is to blame for the 2 National Guard members being shot. And I am refuting them. And they initially asked me if I could do it Friday. And I said, I don't work, I'm an Orthodox Jew. I don't work on Friday nights. I suggested that we move it to Sunday. And they said, well, can you bring someone with you? And I literally wrote back, easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then I suggested Law of Self-Defense, a.k.a. Andrew Branca. I reached out to him, and he was like, let's do it. And then they had to work back to Destiny and this soy boy about changing the time. So that will be on Sunday evening. I will be sharing links for that on Locals as to where you can basically log in. If they enable me to stream it to my channel, I don't know if that's possible. Then in that case, I will be streaming it. It is at 6 p.m. Eastern time. 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. So there you go. I figure that they don't know the pit bull that I'm bringing in there with Andrew Branca. He's going to be like, ah! I'm gonna sit back and just be like, every once in a while, I'll be like, "Go, Andrew." He's gonna be such a pitbull. But I warned him that the arguing style of destiny that the left seems to be so enamored with and think, "Oh my God, this is the greatest debater ever," is that he does this deflection gish gallop. I told Andrew this. I said he does is deflection gish gallop. Gish gallop is when you just throw out a whole bunch of bam, 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 bam. And the idea is if I throw out 7 things at once and a whole blurting them out, there's no way for you to refute them all because each of them requires like, a 90-second response. So this way, if I only respond to 1 or 2 before you start cutting me off on that one, you're like, oh, you see, he had no answer for the other 5. It's like, I had plenty of answers for the other 5. You just gish galloped me and you just threw out a whole bunch of things in order to try and pretend that you're winning an argument. Plus, you were deflecting in the first place. I'll give you an example. So like if I think something along the lines of like the last time I debated Destiny, that there was a I proffered out there that the Biden administration was the most was the most authoritarian of all time. And he's like, authoritarian? What do you call J6? What do you call COVID lockdowns? What do you call the church shooting? What do you call? And he just listed off like 7 different things that Trump did that he thinks shows authoritarianism, which they don't, but that he was pretending that they were showing authoritarianism. And then basically when I start responding to them one by one, he would just deflect into a different thing. And the whole thing was he never really responded to, well, why is Biden more authoritarian? Whatever level you want to put on Trump, and I'm saying Biden is the most authoritarian. And we don't get to that. So basically the objective is trying to win an argument by never actually letting your opponent make the point. And instead just cut them off with like deflection and then a gish gallop. And just but here's a list of 9 things that I have just sort of floating around in my brain that I can throw at you, which none of them really prove any point contrary to the initial point, but it's designed to come across as if you're actually winning an argument. So I am going to be much more mindful about being sure that he does not get away with that during the course of this and actually hold his feet to the fire as far as making logical arguments that address a particular point that comes up to the extent possible. So I think they're supposed to be moderators, but when I see him doing it, I'll try to make sure to call him out on it. Anyway, and Branka is incredibly passionate, so I expect him to be very I expect him to be formidable. That's the way I would put it. Very formidable. I feel like I'm gonna have to elbow him for like talking space, but that's okay. I feel like it's gonna be fun. Anyway, so that's gonna be Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern. I will send out links for that on Locals. I urge you all to join that. And I'm gonna try to stream it here to my channel if in fact such a thing is possible. I assume they'll be okay with it.
You might want to only stream it to Rumble until you know.
Why?
Just because you never know what those guys might say.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they could say something and end up getting you a strike or something, a community guideline strike or something.
I doubt it.
Okay. All right. I warned you. That's all.
My money's on soy pill. I have never been less worried about arguing with someone than someone who embraces the name soy pill. Spatchcock noun, a fowl split and grilled, usually immediately after being killed and dressed. Well, there you go. Release the no-tie Bronco. Bronco will devour them. Review the legal cases surrounding the NGU. So I'm going to have to do that. Yeah, that's true. And we're going to talk more than that. More than that is I'm going to be looking into the legal background, which I started looking at that before the show, and I'm going to be sharing with you why it is that this National Guard, this shooter being in this country is 100% on Biden. And that there was literally nothing Trump could have done other than, unless he was a real fascist. If he was a real fascist, he could have just been like, I don't care, I'm getting rid of these people. Then he would have done it. But because he was following the law, he had no ability whatsoever to do it. And you'll see why as we break that down shortly. Anyhow, that's a good time for us to get into Trump and what's been going on today. In fact, We'll head right over there now. Should I go with trying to decide where to start? Let's start with you know what? We'll come to Trump soon. Let's come to that. We'll come to that soon. Let's start with Kash Patel.
Yeah, I was gonna say start with the Kash Patel news conference, then Jeannie Pirro, and then go to Trump.
Yeah, this
Probably.
is Kash Patel having a news conference regarding the shooting of the 2 National Guard members. This is when both of them were still alive, which unfortunately is no longer the case.
Remarks and my remarks the same way, with prayer for our fallen soldiers, prayer for our law enforcement community, prayer for our National Guardsmen and women, prayer for our brave prosecutors at the Department of Justice and the offices of the DC United States Attorney. We must come together as a nation, especially on this Thanksgiving Day, and remember the sacrifices that so many are making around the world and around this country to secure our freedoms under President Trump's brilliant leadership and administration. I'll provide an update on the case as follows. It is an ongoing investigation of terrorism. Make no mistake about it. The FBI is leading out on this federal assault on a federal law enforcement officer investigation on many fronts. We immediately, with our law enforcement partners in the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, secured the scene, seized the weapon, sent in our evidence response team immediately to collect evidence, and started doing block by block canvasses. We are looking for and interviewing witnesses. The firearm and other materials have been sent to our Quantico laboratory already yesterday for immediate analysis. That work is ongoing. Partnering with the DC United States Attorney's Office, we have also executed multiple search warrants around the country to include the subject's last known residence, which is in the state of Washington. The search warrant was executed on that house last night or early this morning, and it is an ongoing process. All the individuals found in the house have been interviewed, and some interviews remain ongoing. We will not stop until we interview anyone and everyone associated with the subject, the house, and every piece of his life. There's also subject interviews relations conducted in San Diego pursuant to our ongoing investigation. So as the judge noted, this is a coast-to-coast investigation being led right here in Washington, D.C. And this subject definitely did pick the wrong country. And we will rise together as a nation to show the world what we do here. And we are thankful that we have the Attorney General's brave leadership and President Trump's brave leadership and priorities to safeguard our communities. I also spoke to Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, last night, and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like. We will provide continuous details to the American public while at the same time not jeopardizing the ongoing prosecution to ultimately hold this perpetrator accountable in our courts of law. We will provide as much transparency as possible, but as you can see, the breadth and scope of this investigation will continue. We will continue to hit the streets and hit every town and every house and talk to every witness. The men and women of the FBI and the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, to include the Department of Homeland Security, DEA, and ATF, are working tirelessly on this Thanksgiving Day. And I know just by talking to the leaders behind me that instead of going on and being with their families, everyone rogered up and showed up to work today. And none of them want to go home. That's the resolve that we have together as a team to bring to you justice for this heinous act of terrorism here in our nation's capital. And as the judge said, we will ensure that our law enforcement partners are out there in full force to make sure the world can enjoy our nation's capital. We will not let this heinous act of violence prevent people from visiting our beautiful nation's capital. And we will also continue to highlight any evidence that we can publicly. And as the judge said, this individual is in this country for one reason and one reason alone, because of the disastrous withdrawal from the Biden administration and the failure to vet anyway, in any way, shape, or form, this individual and countless others. And this administration has taken the rightful step to stop any further allowance of people with this similar background into the country. And we're thankful for that. And as I said, this investigation remains ongoing. And I think I'll turn it over to General Blanchard of the National Guard now. Thank you.
So I have to say this. I didn't want to interrupt him because he was just a free flow of resolve. That's what I hear there. A free flow of steady, firm resolve in a way that sounds. Yesterday I was critical of the tone in his voice, of like that he seemed a little bit overwhelmed and almost emotional in the moment. And now you see the firm hand of resolve that Kash Patel brings to being head of the FBI. So that's a good thing to see. And everything he was saying there, no one could possibly disagree with it. That's exactly the approach that we need to be taking, to be as thorough as possible, to find out what the story here is with this particular individual, who he's connected to, how far, is this terrorist activity? I mean, he's conducting an investigation as if it is terrorist activity. So all of that is exactly what we would be hoping that the head of the FBI would, in fact, that's the steps we would all be hoping for them to be taking. So kudos to him. I have a clip also from Janine Pirro, who's standing next to him, that she had some comments also. It's just a short clip from her. So let's just get that press
We
conference done.
also have a tweet that Trump just tweeted out 6 minutes ago if you want it at any point in time.
All right. On point, on topic?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
In the best possible way. We have been in constant contact with their families and have provided them with every resource needed during this difficult time. The two National Guards men that we're talking about are Sarah Beckstrom, who's 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, who is 24 years old. They were uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard, and they were in D.C. to keep D.C. safe, pursuant to President Trump's executive order to make D.C. safe and beautiful. They answered the call, they took the charge, they volunteered, they put their lives on the line for people they don't even know. And that, unfortunately, is becoming a reality more and more for the members of law enforcement.
Yep.
Yesterday on Thanksgiving Eve.
So let me see what you got there in the private chat you just shared with me. Should I go to what his comments after?
I mean, if you want to go to either. Well, their video of Trump's always good, but this is just something he just tweeted out. It's
yeah.
Otherwise, people are going to keep mentioning it in the chat if we don't talk about it.
All right, we'll get this out of the way then. Let's just do it. This looks very long, but let's.
It is. It's a screed.
A very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. The real migrant population is much higher. This refugee burden is the leading cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. Failed schools, high crime, urban decay, overcrowded hospitals, housing shortages, and large deficits, etc. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both, while the worst congressman/woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came into USA illegally, and that you're not allowed to marry your brother. That's not what happened. But does, because she came in legally and then got her brother in illegally. Does
Well,
nothing.
there's a question about if she came in legally because her father committed immigration fraud, lied about he was part of the war. Anyway, never mind. Sorry.
Does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she's treated, when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation, which is essentially not even a country for lack of a government, military, police, schools, etc. Even as we've progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all the millions of Biden illegal emissions, including those signed by sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country and all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country. Denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign nationals who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only reverse migration can fully cure this situation. Huzzah! You're done with H-1B, Mr. President? We're done with that? I know he calls him a net positive. We don't need H-1B either. Other than happy Thanksgiving to all except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything America stands for, you won't be here for long. See, now this I would have saved. I would have saved this. It's a great post, but I would have saved it until after we had the whole Somalia thing. That would have been the perfect thing to throw in there. All right?
I thought
Yeah.
I looked at it and I thought it was about
Let's see, because what he gave me here was this great clip here, where Trump. It's much funnier hearing it in his actual voice. This clip here is what I'm referring to. Now is a gold nugget that Jim dug up for me here.
Hi, sir.
Sure. Hi.
What do the Somalians have to do with this Afghan guy who shot the national?
Nothing.
Because he's against Somalians now. So he's being asked, why are you going after Somalians? What does that have to do with this Afghan guy? I understand you got rid of Afghanis. Okay, but what's with the Somalians? What's the deal? What's the deal? And his answer here is gold.
But Somalians, of course, a lot of trouble. They're ripping us off for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country and our Constitution. And she comes from a country with practically no country. It's devastated. It's crime-ridden. It's a mess. It's a disgrace. And we took their people at a tremendous. We're not taking their people anymore.
We're not taking them.
We're not taking their people.
Get rid
We're
of
getting
them.
a lot of their people out because they're nothing but trouble. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Go ahead.
It's like, I'm getting rid of them because I don't like Ilhan Omar. Okay? There you go. I don't like Ilhan Omar, so to hell with Somalia. And frankly, based on how she talks about Somalia being her homeland, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He's like, F you, Somalia. You sent us this crazy witch. We don't need her. We don't need you. You're coming in here. You get all these these benefits from us, and then you're basically shipping back money back home. So you're all earning here. Whatever money you earn, you send back home and live off of the subsidies that Americans are giving you. That's insane. That's ridiculous.
I think they steal way more money than they actually send back legitimately.
Idea. I don't know. That could be true. It could
All
be
the
true.
stuff you've been seeing about it's billions of dollars they've been stealing from all the stuff, from like the autism fund, the feeding our children fund, the Medicaid, all these things.
And look, there's definitely some individuals who have been in the public who have been found guilty of by jury. I covered this story just the other night.
Until a judge says no.
Until a judge overturns it, but basically found guilty of committing fraud of millions of dollars. they happen to be Somalian. I don't know that that's true of all Somalians or even the majority of Somalians, but I do think it's likely true that the majority of Somalians are indigent. You know, a lot of this conversation is something that a lot of people don't understand. They look at the Statue of Liberty, which says, "Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to be free." And they say, "Oh, okay, see, so we should be taking in poor people." No, no. See, that's a message that was written by French people. They're not. The Statue of Liberty was created in France. We didn't make that here, so we took that gift as is. But frankly, when they got the gift, they should have spray painted right over it. Like they should have just graffitied up the your tired, poor, huddled masses, because that's never what our immigration system was about. It was never about that, and it's co-opting what our immigration system is supposed to be about, which is, you know, that we get stronger through immigration. Everyone loves saying, "Oh, but we get stronger. We're a country of immigrants. We get stronger from immigration." That's true. That's true when you're bringing in healthy immigrants, and that's true at a time when we're not over flooded with illegal immigrants, which is why for now I would put just a brief pause on H-1B for about 30 years, and then we can reconsider reopening that idea. But yeah, at this juncture, when we get back to like having, I don't know, down to only 20 million illegal aliens, then we could start considering reopening H-1B. I don't know. It's just me. Like at a certain point, I'm like, hey, you know, there's really we're being overrun. It's like when you have such a noticeable percentage of our population is people who are not here legally. So what that ends up doing is, first and foremost, because of the way our electoral college works. So now you're stripping away from American citizens representation. Like if you're in a state that you're screwed either way. If you're an American citizen and you're residing in a state that has a whole bunch of illegal immigrants, well, in that case, unfortunately, too many of them are not able to support themselves, and our immigration laws require you have to be able to support yourself. It's not just you want to come here. You have to be able to support yourself. Not that you're going to come here and live on the public dime. That's actually built in. That's what Congress built in, properly so, to our immigration laws. Then you got to be able to support yourself, not come here so that the American taxpayer is going to take care of you and your family. That's first and foremost. That's why I say the whole tired, poor, huddled masses is crap. That's not the way it was ever supposed to be. That's not the way our immigration laws have ever been structured. That's not what we're supposed to be having here. And frankly, such a perspective is utterly suicidal. So, you know, it's illogical to think that that's a way that people can succeed. Because frankly, yes, while America has traditionally, perhaps not so in recent times, but traditionally has been the land of upward mobility, they have to be starting from somewhere. Not that like they come in here and they're ready, you know, feed me, clothe me, give me housing and healthcare and shelter. I mean, this is ridiculous. That's not the way any country can possibly subsist. So what we have here is a situation where all of them have come flooding in here. A significant percentage are indigent and needing all sorts of, you know, basic things. And even if they're not getting it from the federal government, even if they're not getting it from there, if they're sucking it up from state government, getting snapped from state government, that too is bleeding the American taxpayer. The American taxpayer, ultimately, you as a taxpayer, I am pretty damn well sure you don't care whether it's federal taxes or state taxes or local taxes. It's taxes. So yeah, sure, they're not collecting from the federal government, but they're coming into your state. And to the extent they're coming into your state, you're paying added state taxes to cover their food. How the hell is that any better for you? Do you care whether it's on a federal dime or it's a state dime? You're paying it. So it doesn't matter whether it's coming on this bill or on that bill. You're paying it. It doesn't make any sense. So at the end of the day, he's totally right in where he's coming from over here. And this notion that we need to be bringing in more people is, frankly, it's absurd, and it has no consistency with what American law has ever said before. So, frankly, I don't even really want the H-1B people in here for quite some time. And what the point I was making about how you're screwed either way is either you have a whole bunch of indigent people who are moving into your state, which now you're going to have increased state taxes so your state can afford to feed and clothe and shelter and healthcare and educate these people. Or You don't have a lot of them. You have a relatively small percentage in your state, in which case you now have a lower amount of power in Congress because the existence of a large number of illegal aliens in the foreign state from you now gives them added power in Congress. So either way, whether they are your neighbors and you are now paying for them with your tax dollars, they're living domestically in the same state as you, and you're paying for them with your tax dollars, or you're relatively free of that because you're in a state like, I don't know, the middle America, where they don't necessarily have as many illegal aliens, but you're getting screwed over because you have less representation in Congress because those added illegal aliens have now flooded more representation to those states that have sucked them in. So either way, whether they're your next door neighbor or not, you're being screwed by illegal immigration. That's my point. And
I would just like to throw back to that, the original, the OG MAGA, and what he said back in 1960, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And then they killed him just so they could pass the Immigration and Nationalization Act of 1965 and flood us with all these foreign.
I don't know what kind of sherry they put in your turkey tonight, but
you think JFK would be with Democrat with these guys today? No way. No way.
No way. No. Anyway, but and the reason the topic of illegal immigration is coming up is because this guy here is an Afghani he's here lawfully, I guess, but he was completely unvetted. And there's all sorts of discussion about who's to blame for him being here. And I want to walk you through why this is 1000% on the Biden administration in every way, shape, and form, and not even a tiny iota Donald Trump's fault. If there's any fault of Donald Trump, it's that he was not sufficiently fascistic to break the law to remove this Lachenwall and his ilk. Because if he was more of a fascist, if he ignored the law, he could have done it and would have. But because he's not a fascist, that's the only reason why that jackass was in the streets of D.C. yesterday and able to kill at least one member of the National Guard and critically injure a second. So with that, I'll share with you this right here.
Why do you blame? Why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid?
Yeah, Jim.
Yes.
It's loud.
Oh, my typing is.
Yeah.
Why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked. There were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place. If we're going to go out, and we would have gone out because I had everybody ready to go. We were going to go out with strength and dignity and precision, and we would have left for Bagram, and we would have kept Bagram, by the way, because of its very close relationship to China and where they make their missiles. But when you let the people come in by the thousands and thousands and thousands, they made a terrible mistake. But they were incompetent. Yeah.
So he's saying here that the fact that this guy was here is all his fault. Now, in the context of where he's talking about here, where he's asking these questions, is when he gave an update. We're going to come back to that clip in a moment. Where I'm going to walk you through what he's talking about, because he's actually he's far more spot on than people may even realize. Far more spot on. But this is Donald Trump talking about this is when what he started with when he was being asked about addressing the National Guard situation.
Yesterday, we literally had no incidents for many months. It was the safest place imaginable, and this is a different kind of crime. This is a really bad crime. Millions of Americans are praying for those heroes and their families, and I must unfortunately tell you that just seconds before I went on, right now, I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her parents are with her. This just happened. She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible. As you know, the other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life, and hopefully we'll get better news with respect to him. And the monster that did this is also in serious condition. But we won't even talk about him. As you may know, DHS has confirmed that the...
So that's him giving a status report with respect to those two individuals. Rest in peace, Sarah Beckstrom. And yeah, that's horrible. You can't say that. You can't say that enough. And then the questions basically come as to who's to blame for this guy being here. That's where I want to get to next. And I'll give you some backdrop on this guy and where he came from. And first and foremost, what we need to discuss is that he worked with the CIA, which you're like, what the hell? According to
what do you think he did for the CIA, Joe? If you had to just guess, what was his job for the CIA?
I haven't even been able to. I would have assumed translator.
No. Well, I mean, maybe he translated people off of this mortal coil.
What does that mean?
Targeted assassinations?
That's what this guy did.
That's what this guy did for the CIA.
Suspect in D.C. shooting work with U.S. government entities in Afghanistan, including CIA, according to Ratcliffe. Officials say the suspect went to the United States under Operation Allies Welcome. Remember this acronym, OAW, Operation Allies Welcome, OAW. Previously served with a U.S.-backed partner force in Afghanistan. The Afghan national accused of shooting two West Virginia National Guard members just blocks from the White House previously worked with multiple U.S. government entities, including the CIA, while serving with a partner force in Kandahar, Afghanistan, according to CIA Director John Ratcliffe. The suspect has been identified as 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakanwal, who Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem said entered the United States in September 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome, the Biden-era resettlement program launched after the U.S.'s botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. Lakanwal had an established relationship with various entities in the U.S. government, including the CIA, due to his role with a partner force in Kandahar, Ratcliffe told Fox News during the interview published November 26. In the wake of the disastrous Biden withdrawal from Afghanistan, quote, the Biden administration justified bringing the alleged shooter to the United States in September 2021 due to his prior work with U.S. government, including CIA, as a member of a partner force in Kandahar, which ended shortly following the chaotic evacuation, the CIA chief told the outlet. The Epoch Times reached out to the CIA for comment and not receive a response by publication time. The shooting happened at around 2:15 Eastern Time on November 26 near 17th and I Streets. Jeff Carroll, the Metropolitan Police Department's Executive Assistant Chief of Specialized Operations, said, Carroll said a lone gunman, quote, came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm, and discharged at the National Guard members. Other guardsmen at the scene were able to subdue the suspect, quote, after some back and forth, Carroll said. Lackenwall was taken to custody and later transferred to a hospital. Two wounded guardsmen. Okay, so now we talk about the condition over here, which I think we're good there. And Muriel Bowser saying the shooting was targeted and vowed the suspect will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, assuming he lives. Joint Task Force DC said in a statement to the Epoch Times that its members were patrolling the Farragut West Metro Station when it came under fire. Trump says it's an act of evil, an act of hatred, an act of terror, pledging the perpetrator would face the steepest possible price and a full reinvestigation of all Afghans who entered the United States under the Biden administration. Quote, we must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, Trump said. If they can't love our country, we do not want them. We don't want them. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced shortly afterwards that it has halted all immigration case processing for Afghan nationals indefinitely pending further review of security and vetting protocols. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said the attack strengthened the administration's resolve and said he was requesting 500 additional National Guard troops for Washington. Quote, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand, he said, while condemning the shooting as a cowardly, dastardly act. What was Operation Allies Welcome? That began in August 2021 as the Taliban regained control of Afghanistan. At the time, the Biden administration said it was, quote, working around the clock to conduct the security screening and vetting of vulnerable Afghans seeking entry into the United States, and that interagency partners would ensure arrivals, quote, do not pose a national security or public safety risk. Great job, Biden. The program initially allowed most Afghans to remain in the U.S. for 2 years without permanent immigration status. More than 40% qualified for special immigration visas for assisting U.S. operations. In 2022, the initiative was renamed Enduring Welcome as federal agencies shifted towards longer-term pathways. So first they come in here under Operation Allies Welcome. Now it's Enduring Welcome. More than 190,000 Afghans have been resettled in the United States under both efforts. 190,000 Afghans that came in here because of this. That sounds insane. That sounds ridiculous. Like 190,000. Wow. We had two more links here, but so apparently he's part of the 0 units, right?
Yeah, the 0 units.
What as the Gateway pundit previously reported, CIA Director John Ratcliffe has confirmed the suspected National Guard Afghan national Ramanullah Lackenwall previously worked for Special Force Unit in Afghanistan that worked under the CIA. Now new information is coming to light about the Kandahar Strike Force, or 0 units, Lackenwall previously served in. What the heck are 0 units? Well, the Kandahar Strike Force, also known as 0 units, was composed of Afghan nationals under the command of the Afghanistan National Directorate of Security, which was an intelligence agency established by the CIA. New York Times reported the 0 units were trained and equipped directly under the CIA and were trained to conduct clandestine missions across Afghanistan. An image of an ID badge circulating widely online Thursday that purportedly shows the suspect in the shooting the National Guard members say he was assigned to the Kandahar Strike Force, or 03 unit, one of a number of so-called 0 units that work closely with U.S. and other foreign forces during the war in Afghanistan. The badge also carries the words Firebase Gecko, which was the name of a base used by the CIA and Special Forces in Kandahar in South Afghanistan, inside what was previously the compound of the Taliban's founding leader, Mullah Mohammed Omar. CBS News has not independently verified the authenticity of the ID badge shown in the photos, but CIA Director John Ratcliffe said the suspect had previously worked with the U.S. government, including CIA, as a member of partner force in Kandahar. The 0 units were exclusively composed of Afghan nationals. So that these people were all Afghanis, the ones who were in these units, and operated under the umbrella of the National Director of Security, or NDs, the intelligence agency established with CIA backing for Afghanistan's previous U.S.-backed government. A former senior, so this guy basically is being trained and prepared by our own intelligence agencies. That's where he learned how to kill.
What I can basically say is, if you've ever seen the movie
Zero Dark 30?
Well, not Zero Dark 30, the movie with Mel Gibson where he's the cop, Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
All right. And he talks about the Phoenix Project. in Vietnam, the CIA's Phoenix Project. It's basically the same thing.
Okay. That's a reference which I assume 20% of the audience might get.
Wait, they're not going to. Who doesn't know Lethal Weapon? Who doesn't know
I
about
know Lethal Weapon, but that particular Operation Phoenix you're talking about, to that level of detail of knowledge, you're asking a lot.
I'm sure this audience knows a lot about MK Ultra.
Yeah, okay, MK Ultra you hear all the time. You
Okay.
hear about MK Ultra all the time. We hear about MK Ultra. Everyone who doesn't know about MK Ultra, we all
What
know.
about Operation Gladio?
You can tell me about Operation Paperclip and Operation Project Manhattan, but like what I'm saying is, yeah, but that's different from knowing about Operation Phoenix, which I think is probably a fictional thing.
No, it's not. The Phoenix Project. No, it's not. 100%
Phoenix Project.
Yep.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't just made for Hollywood part. That was actually
it was real.
As Benny Johnson shared, the Afghan national terrorist Ramanullah Lakhanwal, who shot members of the National Guard near the White House, worked with the CIA as a member of a partner force in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Wow. You know who that really means we should really be talking to? We should be talking to someone from the Senate who worked with the CIA before and be investigating her. Shouldn't
Maybe.
we?
Yeah, somebody. No.
What's her name?
Sluttykins.
Well, let's not go there.
Oh, okay.
Especially because she looks like really just the she looks like just the opposite of that. She looks much more like a Karen. So yeah, but Slotkin, who proudly is talking about how she's a member of the CIA, and in fact, I'm not sure how quickly you can pull this clip up, but wasn't she talking just a month ago about how we can expect something like this?
I can find it, but if you just real quick, I have something pulled up. It's just basically a breakdown, and it's going to explain what Zero Units did.
All right, fine. Zero Units were elite paramilitary forces in Afghanistan closely associated with the CIA, primarily involved in operations against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and the Haqqani network. Established during the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, conducted high-risk operations, including night raids aimed at capturing or eliminating high-value targets. They're basically like the Afghani version of Navy SEALs. That's basically what they're describing here. And they had autonomy. They operated with significant independence under the U.S. guidance. Night raids, known for conducting swift and often brutal raids, which sometimes resulted in civilian casualties. These are the people we brought in here.
Mm-hmm.
There's thousands of these people we brought in here. 190,000 up to that. I mean, I don't think all of them are part of the Zero Units, but the units faced criticism for their methods, which included reliance on faulty intelligence leading to unintended casualties. Targeted by Taliban after the U.S. withdrawal in August 2021, members of the Zero Units became high-priority targets of Taliban due to their close ties with U.S. forces. Many Zero Unit members were evacuated in the U.S. as a part of Operation Allies Welcome, seeking safety from Taliban reprisals. They played a crucial role in the Afghan conflict, but their legacy is marred by allegations of human rights abuses. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you this much, to be fair, because I'm looking to not just criticize the left and Biden, but to actually, be reasonable as to what's the right thing to do. You sort of have to say, okay, well, if they did something wrong, what do you think would be better? Do you think it would be better to leave all those people behind? If we do that, why, when we go into a foreign country, would anybody be willing to work with us and help us when they know that historically those who work with you are going to be left behind and butchered, but when you guys eventually pull out? So you sort of have no choice but to let these people in. Right? I mean, that's the counter. That's what you would say if I was sitting on the left and I'd say, Joe, okay, you're a reasonable guy, Joe. What the hell would you say we should be doing with these people? And why would you think that if we abandon them, that's going to lead to America's long-term health? Because next time we're engaged in a foreign engagement, that, hold on a second. I just got to get rid of someone here. Let me get rid of this guy. The next time we're engaged in a foreign engagement, we're gonna have them. Everyone's gonna say we're just gonna have people saying, I'm not working with you because you're eventually going to leave our country, and then people will come in here and kill me for working with you. So we can't do that. So what's the answer, Joe? You want to have the Lakhanwals of the world come in, or you want to have no one working with us when we're engaging in foreign engagements? And the problem with this question that I can picture the likes of someone like Pisco throwing at me or Destiny throwing at me, that type of perspective. The flaw in that is that they present it as an either or. Like we can only do this or that. As opposed to, hey, what about actually vetting the folks who you're bringing in before it's time to pull out? That while you're working with them, you say to yourself, hey, some point this person's probably going to want to come back to America in case if we ever pull out. Is this someone that would be a healthy addition to the United States of America or not? And that you don't offer promises blanketly to anyone who helps the United States, but that you actually restrict it to people who you vet. You don't vet them 10 minutes before you leave. You start vetting them the day they start working with you. Because you know eventually, if they survive through the end of the conflict, they're going to want to come back with us. So why do you have to wait until 6 minutes before the flights are all leaving to see, do we want to vet this guy and is this someone who's acceptable? When the whole time you're working with him, you could have checked him out, but you didn't. A year before you're actually planning on pulling out, you start actually vetting all of the people. It should actually be a policy that anyone who we're working with, we just start vetting them under the assumption that, hey, at some point they're going to want to come here. And if you work with that assumption and you invest the time and effort into seeing who this person is, well, then you could start actually vetting these people so we know this person's been greenlit, this person has a big red flag over them. And then you know what you're doing. You classify each of them. So we know who's acceptable to bring in here and unleash on our society and who's a lacking wall. So you don't need to do this either or thing. You just need to act with foresight, with actually some common sense. It's really that simple.
I can't find I don't know what happened to it. I can't find the speech by Mrs. Slotkin.
I got it.
You got it? I've been searching for it.
I
can't find
no worries. I actually tucked that one away when I did some research of my own here. I don't just rely on you.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Uh-oh. I'm going to lose my job.
I got to see if I can find it. Did I save that one? I don't know if I saved that one. I have a whole bunch.
I thought I had it in my bookmarks. That's what it's driving me nuts.
I'll try. Give me 30 seconds. I'll find it. Here it is. I think Lib's a TikTok.
Lib's a TikTok at it? Okay. Because there was another thing to the
I got the wrong thing here. I have you added. I gotta remove you and add this. This is Slotkin like a month ago.
Look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens, look at these videos.
So she seems very prescient. I don't know what happened to your camera, bro.
My camera? Did it just crash out?
I don't see
What the hell is going on?
What the heck is going on with Jim? No one knows.
Let me do this.
Kimmy's telling me that Trump posted to X directly. I have to. Here, he's back.
I don't know what's going on. I'm having like all types of problems. My StreamYard crashed already 3 times, and now that just happened. I don't know what's going on.
That was what I read. She shared this before I read it. So Thank you. John Mosley, contributing to the cause. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. The Your Tired, Your Poor poem was Emma Lazarus, an American Jewess, not someone French. Well, the French decided to incorporate it and emblazon it across the Statue of Liberty. They're the ones who chose the poem. I didn't say they were insightful enough to write it. I'm saying that they're the ones who decided to embrace it as a philosophy that they thought they should thrust upon us. Cash, can you bring the same passion to Brennan Clapper and Comey? These are the A's I really want to see in prison. Yep. You, me, and everyone else. Emma Lazarus was a poet activist. She never married and was childless. More misdirected mothering instincts so rampant in today's politics. And AWFL. Now I gotta sit here trying to figure out what the heck this acronym stands for. So this is white, female, American.
Affluent white female liberals. You're supposed to be a U in there too for urban. Affluent, urban, white, female liberals.
Affluent, white, right, female, urban liberals. Got it. Epstein worked for the CIA. Working for the CIA doesn't make you a good person. No, of course it doesn't make you a good person. It just makes the conduct that much more sus. That like whether this person is still working with the CIA, whether they were acting, whether this is some sort of part of an operation. Someone shared out a thing that was I never asked you to check this out. I don't know if you even saw this, but I saw last night and I was like, I'm just going to dismiss this now. That purportedly hours before
You're talking about the searches or whatever?
Yes, hours before the shooting, there was purportedly there were claims of this, and
that could be time zone problems when you're looking at, because depending on what time zone you're in and where stuff's listed, it could be I'm not saying that's what it is.
I'll let you finish. Let you make a point in a moment. People need to know what I'm talking about. There was all these claims that there was this crazy influx of searches for the name Ramanullah Lockenwall hours before the shooting, implying that a whole bunch of people knew that this guy was about to go do what he was about to do. So
there's all types of weird stuff about this guy. Laura Loomer has done some investigation. She's got information about the people he was living with, and they fled to Costa Rica, and I don't know.
The point being that that you're saying just because that they're doing a search and that people are saying it's hours earlier, it could really depend on time zone. So like someone could be looking this up on the West Coast and they'll be like, oh my God, this all happened like 3 hours before the shooting. There was all these people looking at it. It's like, no, from where you're at, it was 3 hours before the shooting, but that doesn't mean anything. So yeah, that doesn't, so that I feel as if people are so fast to jump on that because they want to be the first one out there to help prove a possible conspiracy, that they'll just sort of jump on a nugget for the purposes of saying, you see, I knew it. And I do think that caution tends to be, I think 3 out of 5 conspiracies and theories end up proving to have somewhere between a good deal of truth to them and an incredibly great deal of truth to them. There's like 10% which are like spot on. 60% are like pretty good. There's like 30% of them that are crap or pretty much crap. So, but yeah, the point that I'm getting at is that, and I agree with you, JH, that just because someone is working for the CIA, that definitely does not make them a good person. That's why we need to be vetting them. Right? That's why we need to be looking at them. Who thinks this man was active by someone from the CIA after the destabilizing messages from the 6 crappy Congress people? I don't know. It's way too early to speculate, in my opinion. It's way too early to speculate whether he's a lone wolf or he's part of some cell. It's like, how the heck can we How can you or I sitting in our house, whatever we have is a theory that's based on our preconceptions as to what, how we perceive the world. Because there's nothing about this story which makes it unique that says this is how we know that this guy is tied into something like that. It's just too early to have that type of information. So whatever speculation I would throw out there would simply be a reflection of my perception of cynicism of the world or rejection of cynicism. So could it be? Yeah, it definitely could be. And I'm glad that Cash isn't, is not ruling out anything. He's looking as part of terrorist activity, but to just say that that's what it is. Yeah, it's okay to say that if you're sitting around a bar talking to your friends and you say like, this is what my gut feeling is. For someone in my position to take that position online, I think is just sort of, it feels clickbaity.
Well, since you were talking about conspiracy theories, and generally when you talk about conspiracy theories, everyone thinks Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And so I do have a 4-minute clip of Alex Jones explaining how him and General Flynn were talking about this going to happen 2 weeks ago.
Cool. Let me get to that in just a moment. Let me just finish up here. I'm thankful. Hope you welcome me as well. Love much. Fight any. Hold the line. Thank you so much, Diamond Dog. That's very thoughtful. Trump's plan was take them to Qatar, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, let them be vetted there, and then possibly bring them to the U.S. Only 17,000 were designated for possible relocation. Yeah, you see, that makes sense. That makes a great deal of sense. You see, why would anyone fight if they may be left behind? I say, why would anyone fight if they can flee? Planning for defeat makes defeat inevitable. It's not defeat. They're not planning for defeat. It's not planning for defeat. Here's the thought. This is what I'm getting at, Turner. We were winning in Afghanistan for like 19 years and 9 months, right? It's only the last month or so that we lost when we said we're out of here. Now, because we should never be in a nation-building state, if we ever get, God forbid, into a scenario like Afghanistan again, we have to assume that we're not going to be taking over that country and being there forever, that at some point we're going to want to leave. And that at that point that we want to leave, the people who are assisting us while we are there may not have such confidence in the regime that has been propped up there to run the place to actually be able to hold on to it. They may have concerns about the security and strength and the abilities of that new entity to hold on to it and not have the same trust in it that our hopeful government may have in the incoming regime, that they won't be overrun by some lunatic rebels. Accordingly, since we're not nation building, or we never should be in a nation building state, and we're certainly not colonizing and taking over and holding on to these places forever, that means we're going in someplace for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. In the case of Afghanistan, 20 years. But eventually there's an end date. And whenever that end date is, the people who are working with us, many of them may be saying, I don't really trust the incoming people to hold on to it, and I'm afraid of the potential folks who are coming in here. So I really want to go to America. I didn't sign up here helping you Americans all these years so I can rely on a couple of decks of cards that are standing here building houses to stand up to these mortars and bullets. So no, I don't rely on these people. I need to get the hell out of this country. What the hell were you thinking putting me in this position? That's not losing. That's them saying we just don't trust the incoming. So that's not planning for defeat. It's planning for what's going to happen when we're not here anymore. And what will we tell the people when the ones that want to come with us?
I think what happened in Afghanistan is the same thing that would happen in Ukraine if we stopped funding it. It would fall apart right away. I mean, you had people like the same thing that happened in South Vietnam. As soon as we stopped funding it and supplying it, there was no money for them to steal anymore. The people that were stealing the money all left and abandoned it, and then it just fell apart. I mean, it's happened. It's repeatable. You know what I mean? It's like it's you can see it. It happened in Vietnam.
Happens all the time.
You know, it happened in Afghanistan and Ukraine. The same thing. As soon as the U.S. stops, they're done. There's nothing. You know.
Yeah, they're basically there only as long as we are. Which, by the way, that should lead to a whole other conversation as to why we even do it in the first place. What's the point of renting these countries for a couple of decades, only to get to see countless American casualties, where the country is still in a crappy state by the time we leave?
Well, there's some people that don't ever want us to leave. They want it to be like South Korea. They want it to be like Japan. They want it to be like Germany, where we never leave. You know, we're just there.
Yeah, well. So yeah, that's so that's why I think we need to make plans for what you're going to do with these people, the locals who are helping us, and vetting them out before you just, more than 10 minutes before you're pulling out. Jim does have a new $11,000 computer.
Yeah, I think it's Windows 11 updated while I was sitting today waiting for you to, waiting to go live. It did an update, so I have a feeling that that's what's causing the problem. It's something screwed up with Windows 11.
Oh, you're on Windows 11.
Yeah,
I'm not on Windows 11. I'm on Windows 4.
well, I wish I was still on Windows 7, to tell you the truth. I loved Windows 7.
I actually think I am on Windows 7.
Yeah, Windows 7 I think is the best. I loved it.
I do. I'm pretty sure I'm on Windows 7. I don't think I never want to leave Windows 7. I'm like, you think I trust Windows 9? Why would I ever give up on Windows 7? We will know. I guess this is true, Kimmy. If he gets Epstein, we'll know that he was part of a group. A dorkable ally says, today Thanksgiving is my birthday. Happy birthday! Yay! You're not adorkable. You're not. I don't see any dorkiness at all. Thanks for the entertainment as my day ends. You're so welcome. God bless you. And new member. I guess member for 1 month. That means they've been here for a month, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they could have been here longer. That would it's weird. Like if they're a member for a month and then they're not a member for 2 months and then they become a member again, it'll say member for 1 month.
Right.
Type of thing. I think.
No, I think you're correct in that. I have a lot of people became member for like a month when they had been. I know I've seen him as a member here like years ago. So if we're going to leave quickly, then the policy must be to defeat enemies, not make friends. Odorant dum metuant. Throw your freaking fancy schmancy Latin at me. I don't need your fancy schmancy Latin. My point is that we end up staying places for a while. You're going to need help from the locals. So why not decide whether or not these are locals who you're going to be happy bringing into your country, I don't know, shortly after you start, making all sorts of commitments to them and long before you're pulling out. It's not a matter of leaving quickly. It's leaving eventually. Some point we're going to leave. Probably before the guy who's helping you dies. At least you'll be very disappointed if they die while they're still in your employ. So, yeah, at some point, they're going to want to come. It's just common sense. I'm not sure what you're arguing with me about here, Durna. That doesn't mean that I'm not arguing that we should be there for 20 years, but I'm saying if you're going to be somewhere for 6 months, a year, so start vetting the people who are helping you. Whoever's helping you, vet them. Why would you not vet them right away? That's being prepared.
I don't even know why, in all honesty, and I don't know why we invaded Afghanistan to begin with.
Oh, that
we could have, within 12 hours, we could have destroyed every. In all reality, I thought, honestly, honest to God thought we were going to. Yep, boom, gone. Because what's there? Just a bunch of terrorist camps in the middle of the mountains. It ain't going to go anywhere. It would be the perfect place to use a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, so we weren't going to do that. We weren't going to.
I would have if I was in charge. We would have. That's all I'm saying.
So we weren't going to nuke mountains, and there's a lot of mountains with a lot of caves.
That's right. They got plenty of mountains and plenty of caves. They wouldn't have missed a couple.
You got to hit the right ones. And how do you know you got them?
They knew where he was. They knew where he was the whole time.
So you think that it took them like 7 years that they're like, he's up in that mountain, and like basically Masada, it's like a fortress. They couldn't get in there, and they had to build a whole battering ram to get into the fortress mountain. That's what was happening there.
No, he was. They had him. Remember with the whole Tora Bora thing when he was trying to escape, and they knew he was trying to get out, and they were trying to get him. They could have just hit Tora Bora.
Okay, all right. So now that's a different thing. But I think that people would have a real issue with you just wiping out the entire Tora Bora.
Why?
What do you mean? How many people living there?
I don't. You don't think we probably killed way more people during the time we were in war there than we would have killed in one day?
I've never investigated the population of Tora Bora, but the civilian population of Tora Bora. But it does seem like you're going after a where you need a fly swatter and you're pulling out a bazooka.
Maybe. I don't know. More like a shotgun.
Okay, even that. Yeah, I won't quibble over the analogy, but you get the point. Same
I'm
point.
just saying, they're lucky I wasn't in charge. That's all I'm saying. Because when I saw those planes hit and everything, I said, "Oh, we're nuking someone."
It means let them hate so long as they fear. Oh, I am fine with them hating. My point is to the extent you're going to need locals helping you because they know the terrain, because they're able to blend in easier, because they've built-in relationships with people who can help be assets towards making for a smoother mission. I can understand that that's probably a very advantageous thing to have. You can get confidential informants, people who are working with you. I think that's probably an important part of covert ops, and it's probably an important part of that having the ability of the recognition on an international stage that we're not going to stab you in the back the moment we're done with you is probably a healthy thing for our military. Maybe not tomorrow, but next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If America builds a reputation as people who basically will stab those locals in the back the moment we're done with the place, it's not that good for the next war. Perfect timing. Joe and Jim are on while I'm eating my pumpkin pie and peppermint ice cream dessert. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying. Good. There's a whole bunch of rants that I missed. I haven't pulled up yet. So let me get to that. Dominion After Dark saying, you still think, I sort of saved this. I didn't want to address this right away because I was like, this one's going to take me a while. I know this one I'm going to have to spend, what Dominion After Dark sent you, the first one, I was just like, let me explain. First, let me tell you what he wrote. You still think Southern Democrats were wrong prior to American Civil War? I bet you think the American colonists were wrong too. Wonder if the King of England should have sent his army to go after the American colonists. Okay. Listen to me. It's article. Listen to me. Tzaddikel is not a derogatory thing, just so you know. Tzaddikel is like what I would call my little kid, my own kid. The word tzaddik is Hebrew for righteous person, like a famous righteous person. When you're talking to a little kid, so you call them not tzaddik, but it's actually in Hebrew tzaddik, but Americans say tzaddik. We call them tzaddikel, like little tzaddik. Okay, so I'm saying this as a compliment when I call you tzaddikel. Okay. I came from a camp which basically, when I would look at the Civil War, I spent much of my life basically under the perspective that the entire Civil War, that's not me, he fell off. The entire Civil War was really about self-determination of states, Southern rights, and the rights of states to govern themselves. As a side topic, the secondary thing, that the cause for them engaging in that fight was the very evil institution of slavery. But the very, very heart of it was about self-determination. And I did some digging and some research into it. I spent some time looking at it, and I went through a whole bunch of videos which were basically trying to sort out this claim. Is it really about self-determination, or was it about really just slavery?
And my computer crashed. That was just great.
See, you went cheap. You should have gone for the $12,000 computer.
I guess I should. I didn't get an expensive enough computer.
So
it's definitely Windows.
So I was explaining is there's this ongoing conflict where most Southerners today, I think, probably take the position that it was about self-determination, not about maintaining slavery. And I saw a couple of videos on this, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, which really made me change my mind. That if you really look at what they were saying and the positions they were taking, it really was not about self-determination. That was a side thing that came across probably as a rationalization in order to basically create like a justification that this is not about slavery. This is really about self-determination. I think I probably looked into this around the time. It's probably long enough ago. It was probably like 10 years ago when the whole thing about the Confederate flag was like a hot topic, long before I was doing this show. But the point is that I really came to the conclusion it's probably true that for the most people who are living in the South, most people who fought for the South, or felt motivated to fight for the South, it probably was more about the slavery thing. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe we can look back historically, and all the evidence I saw is really slanted in an unfair, harsh look at the South. It's very possible. It
wasn't
is
only like 2% or less than 2% of the population actually owned slaves.
That's true. That's true. But even if I was a teacher and not a capitalist, like, I wasn't having a business for myself, I still would be a very strong believer in capitalism. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there was a bunch of other stuff too. I mean, I'm not in no way defending slavery. It's horrible. It shouldn't be. But there was also stuff happening with the North where they were trying to put like weird tariffs.
You're pulling me in a whole direction.
All right, never mind.
Go. Right.
All
You're pulling me down there. I don't want to make an hour and a half long conversation about the Civil War.
Okay.
The what I'm getting at is here. What I'm getting at is this. He's saying, he's making this point as far as, the right to stand up. That was where he brought up this whole thing. And when he's bringing this thing up about the South, what I'm telling you is this. You might be right. You might be right that for most people there, it was about self-determination and state rights versus federal rights, and the rights for independence and the rights of power of local governance versus being dictated by the federal government. You might be right about that.
I think people had a different view back then. Their states were they were citizens of the states than they weren't really citizens of the country.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. I mean, that certainly was much more true back in the day. I mean, when everyone thought of themselves as Georgian, not as American.
Right.
That was Virginian, especially some of the more prestigious colonies like Virginia. Like that was like, I'm a Virginian. Like I'm not just an American. I'm a
people
Virginian.
Still act like that when they're from New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah, exactly. So, but really only from New York City, much less so from upstate, right? So, and that's just a reflection of the attitude that New Yorkers have. But because like the ones in Boston don't say I'm from Massachusetts, so like I'm Boston, right?
Right.
So the point that I'm getting at, the point that I really want to make on it is this. Here's the problem with that whole perspective. Here's the problem. It's almost akin to the problem with it is that slavery is so vile and disgusting that it's almost like it seems like this is not where you want to be making your stand. What do I mean by that? It's almost like, okay, someone who, let's say you have a man and a woman who are in a relationship, okay? And the woman she's been burnt by a couple of previous cheating boyfriends. And she is now psycho about checking her boyfriend's phone and about, and assuming that he's cheating and stalking and spying him and all sorts of craziness, right? And then she ends up catching her current guy in flagrante delicto, right in the heat of the moment, right? She catches him there with some girl doing all sorts of illicit and expressive and too graphic for YouTube type of activities. And he turns to her and he says, you're always stalking me. How do you do that? That's so wrong. Like, what's wrong with you that you're so psychotic, that you're so much PTSD that you're always following me around? It's like, yeah, she really does have that problem. But this is not where you make the argument. This is not the time and the place you make the argument. That's what I think of when it comes to the whole thing with the South. Is it true that we need to have stronger local governance? Yes. Is it true that I agree with state rights? Yes. Is this the area where we really want to stake our claim that it's about this vile, disgusting, evil, racist institution of slavery? We must have state rights. Like, that's where you want to do it. That's kind of like when you're doing this ugly activity of cheating on your girlfriend, and then when you're busted cheating on it, it's like, well, you're always spying on me. That's totally wrong. It's like, yeah, she is always spying, but you're doing something much worse. Like, much worse. This is terrible. What you doing here? See, so you're not in a position to raise it in that moment. That's the thought I have about that conflict as far as, is it state rights or is it slavery? It's like, yeah, you know what? State rights should be much stronger. I wish they could have gotten out. Not because I want to protect slavery, because I think that the federal government is a force of evil, which is here to destroy and crush every American they possibly can. I think it's terrible. But raising it in the context of like, so that's why we need to have slavery is like, yeah, okay, so that's why I basically need to go get my jollies with the next door neighbor. It's like, that's not how you bring it up. It's just, because it just seems, no. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm, does that make sense?
Sure.
It's my analogy, like, it works, right?
Sure. I don't know what you're making an analogy of, because my computer froze and I was off and I don't know what you were talking about, but.
Well, then it was just brilliant. Then you can just
brilliant.
say, wow, that was particularly brilliant there, Joe.
No.
Dominion asks, Joe, what percentage of population groups do you need to decide that are bad before you can judge the entire group bad for your own safety? Oh, you can say 1%. I don't care. I'm simply saying there's a difference between taking steps to say, hey, we need to do this because that we have a problem here, or, or smearing that everyone there is impoverished. Everyone there is thieving. That's my point. Because I don't think it's true. So you're going to have a handful of Somalians who are not thieving. And now you're basically going around that everyone who meets them is like, well, you're from Somalia, you're a thief.
I don't know. I mean, there's a difference. It's a different society. It's a low trust society. It's like you would have the very rare person that would be like, how the best way to put this?
How many Somalians do you know?
How many Somalians do I know?
How many Somalians have you ever met?
I met a bunch.
And that was your experience?
That was my experience, yeah.
Your interactions with them?
Yes, that you can't trust them.
I guess that proves it. I don't know.
But it was the 90s. It was Somalia. It was rough.
Everyone's fighting with me. It's Thanksgiving and everyone's fighting with me.
I'm not fighting with you at all.
Going into combat, you have to prefer death to defeat. If we attract people who are only looking for money, they will not be useful to begin with. That's not true. That's not true. That is not true at all. No, I totally disagree with this. No. This is, Turner, you're dead wrong. You could not be more wrong. All the time, we need to rely on people who are scum to get something positive accomplished. You can't pick your allies in every situation. If only it was that simple, that everything is black and white and we can only, you know what? You're someone, it's like we want to have a mission to now infiltrate the inner circle of the Third Reich, and we've got this person here who's really kind of dark and twisted, but has a personal vendetta against Hitler and is really skilled and in his inner circle has a chance to get him. No, we're not going to work with him because he's a dark, twisted person. Like, no, you don't get to choose your allies that they're only virtuous people that you're going to work with. Not in the real world. That's just not reality. It's really nice if that was the case, but unfortunately, people seem to are not all black and all white.
No, our government works with horrible people all the time. Our government worked with Osama bin Laden.
Look, that doesn't mean you have to let them roam free in the streets, but the reality is that it's like you sort of have to make a choice as to like, okay, so fine, so I guess we're just gonna let imagine George Soros was convicted, okay. Was actually convicted, and he is on the lam, and he's flying internationally, and we have some bounty hunter who's able to get him, and that bounty hunter is basically the equivalent of Adam Schiff being that level scum. Okay, so you can tell me, oh, we don't want to work with this bounty hunter because he's scum.
Were they
or would you
staying at
say,
the?
no,
Were they,
I want to get George Soros' ass in jail and his son Alex. I want to get them all in jail.
Were
And
they
the only way I get them in jail and see them executed, hopefully, not after a trial, obviously, is if I have to deal with this Adam Schiff person, I'll work with the Adam Schiff person.
It depends on if they're staying at the Standard Hotel or not.
I don't know what that means.
Google it sometimes.
Why?
Adam Schiff in the Standard Hotel.
Oh, see, this is where we have to go. This is
No,
where
I'm just saying, I don't know where we were talking about this guy in the CIA and all this stuff. I don't know. I had an Alex Jones clip. My computer froze. It's all my fault.
Do we still have the Alex Jones clip?
I still have it. I got to present it. Shit.
One moldy strawberry spoils the whole pint. Okay, I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is when we're choosing who we're going to work with, no, the reality is you can't. Sometimes you have to work with scum. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to let them in the country. We could say, hey, look, we really thank you. We're not letting you come into our country. We're not letting you in. Yeah, I'm not letting you roam free because I know what a psycho you are. So, and I don't want that on my resume when you end up butchering a bunch of young women because you're a lunatic. That's like, wow, this is that, Joe's the one who made the call to let this person in here. I don't want to live with that. So you can go to basically France or some other country, but we're not letting you in here. We'll help you get out of this. We'll help you get out of that country. We'll ship you off halfway across the world. If you're helping us in South America, we'll ship you off to Africa or Far East. If you're helping us in Africa, we'll ship you off to South America. But we're not bringing you here. That's what I'm saying. But we had to hear. We have an Alex Jones clip that I'm supposed to be looking at here, right?
Sure.
Let's do it.
It just says 2 weeks ago, General Flynn predicted on my show that elements of the CIA would activate Islamic sleeper cells in the United States in the coming months.
Enlarge.
Play.
2 weeks ago, on my syndicated broadcast, General Flynn, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency,
give us the clip, Alex,
that in the coming months or even weeks, the deep state CIA elements ally of the Democratic Party.
Does it look like you got a black eye?
China, Venezuela, and others.
Yeah, he looks like a Shiner.
Triggering sleeper cells inside the United States, particularly Islamic. I'll post the interview below.
Good.
He was on my broadcast yesterday and pointed out that all the evidence is clear. We've also had whistleblowers that have talked to Jesse Waters and others at Fox from inside the CIA that this whole program with the Seditious Six and the script they were given, Brennan's the handler, former head of the CIA, from my analysis.
Should I speed it up?
This whole operation they've been running, implying Trump's putting out illegal orders, is ahead of major events to destabilize the United States with different paramilitary forces. And then when Trump tries to call it the military, the corporate media would already pre-planted the idea that his orders are illegal. This is sedition. This is the prep phase for a violent coup. And I've been predicting it along with General Flynn as well. This is a very, very serious time right now. And now we know, as you see below, this has been released by CIA Director Ratcliffe. Laura Logan has posted the information, and she's got incredible intel connections. I'll just leave it at that. That this guy was part of a CIA strike force, and that's what his ID says, in Afghanistan.
And that's confirmed by Ratcliffe.
Her husband's been deployed over there for forever and was a leading commander, and is also a very good source of information on that front. So this is a major message to Trump. This is a probe. This was just literally hundreds of feet away from the fence at the White House.
Let's pause it.
And there's going to be more.
I really hope, and I'm fairly confident that Kash Patel is going to be looking into who he worked with in that 0 unit, who was overseeing him from the CIA, who was his commander, who was their commander, who was overseeing that particular unit, who had any sort of ties with him that is now stateside and potentially aligned with the Democrats, and see what connections they have. Because that's really what we need to be looking at. Like who it is that might actually have, a reason, a capacity to to get in touch with this guy. Obviously, you want to question him, assuming that he's still able to be questioned. That's essential. But assuming he clams up and refuses to say anything, which is a very, very good chance, unless you cut him a really sweet deal. But I think you need to basically do all sorts of investigations into which people who are American citizens stateside were the ones who were dealing with this guy or this guy's CEO. In other words, who the head of the Afghan Zero Unit was. I don't know, because I assume he wasn't the head of the Afghan. Someone who might have, helped create, who's part of this chain here, which might have decided to try to activate him domestically.
There's another aspect of this that came out not too long ago. I could show you.
Well, let's finish him up here.
Okay.
More of this, so people better get ready. This is very, 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 very serious. Of course, Biden brought hundreds of thousands of these people into the country, and they need to be deported. The media trying to spin it now because the Trump administration approved one level of his asylum last year. But that's just because that's part of the larger process that Biden set up. And now those policies need to be reversed, and they need to go in and kick out all of these paramilitary Afghans, even if they, quote, work for the CIA. But this guy clearly is working for these very elements. Remember, John Brennan is a Muslim and a communist. He brags about it. People always are blown away by that. I mean, look it up. He brags about it in Arabic. And they're working with these different terror networks. And they use them as a covert army. And they're gearing up the drug cartels and others to wreak havoc in this nation. General Flynn didn't just predict that. He has sources that give him the chatter and the information that's being picked up, and I'm getting that from other law enforcement intelligence sources as well.
How long is the clip that he attached below?
National Guard soldiers that were shot.
I look.
You can stop this one here. How long is that clip?
I know, this is Laura Logan talking about it.
You have? Does he? He said he attaches a clip below. Does it?
It's right here. It's a long interview. It's. Oh wait, no. Here's.
It's 1 minute.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, here it is. Oh, it's 1 minute. You want it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big threats. Number one, I really do feel like we are facing a potential, something that makes 9/11 look like a church, like a small church fire. And I hope that I'm wrong. I pray that I'm wrong. But the indications and warnings across the board, and that's just solely from my own, experiences and research of open source information. So never mind other things that I'm sure that they're getting inside of the National Security Agency, the FBI, the CIA. What I worry about, and that account, if an attack does occur, what I worry about is that the president is not being briefed by those organizations fully. And that's where the president of the United States needs to really shake these organizations up, shake the leaders up, and get them involved and make sure that he is getting exactly what they believe could happen. Because I'm sitting here today, not as some guy sitting on the wall, that just walked into the party. I'm sitting here as a guy who's very experienced in these things. So I'm concerned about that. The second thing, and as important, actually probably certainly more important really, is the life of the president.
Yeah.
Okay, that didn't say what I wanted to say. What's he talking about?
Well, he's talking about concern about terrorism attack that he's not being briefed about. That's essentially what I think that Alex is trying to point to with that. But I mentioned, you have a clip that you wanted to show?
No, that's in a clip. This is information. So the half brother of this guy's brother was killed. He was a recruiter for the Islamic State. So ISIS. He was a recruiter for ISKP. Before joining it in Eastern Afghanistan, he worked for the TTP in Pakistan.
Taliban, Pakistan.
He was killed in a targeted operation July 2022 in the Achin district of the Nangarhar, province.
Nangarhar province. Following November 26th shooting, ISIS channels quickly praised the attack due to Lakhwal's family ties to the group.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is weird, right? Like, if they would have done proper vetting, wouldn't they have known that this guy's brother was an ISIS recruiter? Been like, well, wait, your brother's an ISIS guy.
Yeah. You would hope so, right? You would think that that would be part of the vetting. I promised everyone that I was going to explain why it's so hard to remove. Why it's so hard to remove folks once they get in here.
Yeah, we kind of got sidetracked. There was a whole bunch of stuff we were supposed to be talking about.
We had good things to talk about, and we're going to talk. I want to talk about that now. I want to get into why it is that it's so impossible. Those of you who joined late, you might have missed this clip. It's a relatively short clip, but we're going to rewatch this. It's a minute-long clip that I shared earlier that we're going to review again because it's A, it's funny, and B, he makes some comments about the law that most people on the left are trying to refute. They're saying that Trump was the reason this guy was here is because Trump, his courts said this guy approved him to stay here. And that's technically true and horribly misleading. It's horribly misleading because there's no way to actually get him out. What do I mean by that? He was approved in April. In fact, let me see if I can. Do you have a clip where they're basically saying, "Hey, it's Trump's fault that he's here"? Can you pull up something on that so I can basically like show what they're trying to make that claim? I think I probably find it here.
Well, that's a clip of Trump calling him stupid.
I think I got it. I think I got it here. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the one I got for that. And
no, there was one right below that. I think.
Hold on.
Here it is. I got one. I got it. Officials criticized Biden vetting, but Afghan shooting suspect was granted asylum under Trump. What? Trump's the one who granted this guy asylum? U.S. News decides we're going to pop up on you every freaking time we can. The point being, I don't want you. I pay for enough of your idiocy. I don't want to give you my email even.
Oh, hold on.
I don't want to do that.
Let me get a.
Can you have something on X to that effect?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me get a.
The reason I want you to be familiar with this is because if you have not yet heard this argument, because you were enjoying Thanksgiving, and
did you try just refreshing it? Because I was able to get it without a.
I did not try refreshing it.
I mean, give me
I got it here. I got it. Washington, the Trump administration on Thursday blamed Biden era vetting. So I'm going to X this out. See, that's what ends up happening when I X it out.
Hold on 1 second.
All right, here we go. Try blame. I refresh and we're good. Blame Biden era vetting failures for the admission of an Afghan immigrant suspected of shooting 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. Wow, this is annoying. All right, we really need a different source. I really don't want to pay U.S. News. I got New York Times. I pay enough of these idiot rags. I'm tired. I use them too infrequently to actually want to pay them.
Right now, I'm archiving it, so just give me a minute for it to load. I usually don't have this problem with U.S. World News.
It's not your fault, but let's see. Just the fast way of doing that. See, I apologize to you all for this. I thought we had a story.
Is there not a second link for that right there though? Right under it, archived Reuters. No, wait. Archived Reuters stories, right below it.
I don't know. I can't. I'm just getting that pop up and it's blocking everything.
Here, yeah, right below that link in the email. There's another. It's an archived Reuters.
Reuters?
Yeah.
Do you have a link you want to share with me?
Sure, I got it right here. Copy, paste. There we go. Private chat. That's it. Right now. Boom. Do that one. That's the same story in Reuters.
Okay. Thank you. Officials criticized Biden vetting, but Afghan shooting suspect was granted asylum under Trump. Trump administration on Thursday blamed Biden-era vetting failures for the mission of Afghan immigrants suspected of shooting 2 National Guard members, but the alleged gunman was granted asylum this year under President Donald Trump, according to U.S. government files seen by Reuters. Lockenwell, a 29-year-old Afghan national, entered the U.S. on September 8, 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome. That's OAW. I mentioned to you all to remember that acronym because it's going to come up during the course of this segment that I'm talking about now. OAW, Operation Allies Welcome. That was Biden's program, the settlement program that was set up after the U.S. military withdrawal from Afghanistan in August 2021 that led to the rapid collapse of the Afghan government and the country's takeover by the Taliban. Patel and Jeanine Pirro, U.S. attorneys for D.C. at both Trump appointees, said during a press conference that the Biden administration had failed to conduct adequate background checks or vetting on Lockenwell before allowing him to enter the U.S. in 2021. They never provided any evidence to support their assertion. Patel said Lockenwell, who had worked with the U.S. government forces during the U.S. war in Afghanistan, was improperly allowed to enter the U.S. because the prior administration made the decision to allow in thousands of people in this country without doing a single piece of background checking or vetting. The program, which allowed more than 70,000 Afghan nationals into the U.S., and Enduring Welcome, which allowed in another 120,000 for a total of 190, according to a congressional report, was designed with vetting procedures, including a U.S. counterterrorism intelligence agencies, but the large scale and rushed nature of the evacuations led critics to say the background checks were inefficient. And they say how he worked with the CIA, and they're saying that ultimately he was approved to come in here, and it was in April of this year that Trump's court allowed him to stay. So you say, well, why is that? Was Trump an idiot? Why would you allow this lunatic to stay? Why didn't you vet him out? How does this get through? This is your own incompetence. This is what people like, I don't know who this lunatic is over here, but they're all basically saying things of this nature. I don't know who this idiot is, but I just did a random search for folks saying things like this. How do you even tie your own shoes? Trump signed asylum for him in April 2025. He was supposedly vetted before given that status. In 2021, he was here legally. Your office dropped the ball, shoddy corner cutting, incompetent. Well, Rhonda, respectfully, you're an idiot. And the reason I say that is because the reason he's here is because the law required him to stay here once he was here already. And despite Trump's best efforts to subvert that law and stop that law and revoke the passage that law had, the courts got in his way and said, no. You can't just take away this favored status that Biden conferred upon them. I did a little digging for you on Grok. I'll share with you, which will just give you an overview as to what it is that I'm talking about so that you have a better perspective as to how hamstrung the left has made Trump in trying to remove these potentially dangerous people. After they brought him in here and created this dangerous situation, now they don't want to let them out and fight him tooth and nail, no matter how hard he tries to remove them. And then they say, well, he was approved by the courts that you have here. Yeah, because the way the law is structured, they have to be approved. If I was the judge on that case, I would have approved it also, because you have to follow what the law says. The way the law is structured, once someone is given this particular status, you have to let them stay unless they do terrible things that force you to kick them out. What am I talking about here? Let me explain to you. Because I was asking about this clip. Did I play that clip just now or not? You're muted.
Clip of Trump calling him stupid?
Yeah.
No, you didn't play it.
All right, so let me replay it again, okay? Because I think that you need to see the clip. And if you don't see the clip, you can't appreciate what he's saying. So I want you to understand the law that he's referencing here in layman's terms. And then I'm going to explain to you, I'll walk you through what the law actually says and how correct he is in the point that he's making. Specifically, it's this clip.
Because they let him.
Why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in.
You can't get them out once they come in. That's why it's Biden's fault. Because under the law that they passed, under what the way they structured it, it's impossible to get rid of them. And he tried doing everything to subvert that structure so that they could legally be removed. And when he did that, a court stopped him. Let me explain to you what we're talking about, because that's really the key part of the clip that you need to see in order to understand the law that I'm about to explain to you. Why this is not at all Trump's fault. All Trump was doing was literally following the law, and he tried using the law his way. And when he tried doing that, the left got in his way. The courts got in his way and said, no, we're not letting you change their status. So I was asking Grok about this, and they said Trump's statement appears to reference the broader challenges under U.S. immigration law for deporting individuals who gain lawful permanent resident status or asylum, and this is what these guys got, after initial entry, particularly for Afghan nationals admitted via humanitarian parole under Operation OAW, Operation Allies Welcome, in 2021, that it's impossible to get rid of them. While parole itself is temporary and revocable, many OAW participants, including the shooting suspect in this case, transitioned to more secure statuses like asylum, which trigger robust due process protections that make removal extremely difficult and lengthy. Below, I'll break down the key laws and processes he likely means based on the context of rushed Afghan evacuations and subsequent policy debates. Under INA 212D5A, 8 U.S.C. 1182, Secretary of Homeland Security can grant parole for urgent humanitarian reasons or significant public benefit, allowing temporary entry without a visa. That's how we got the 76,000 Afghans under OAW in here. Operation Allied, what was it? Welcome. Allies Welcome. So 76,000 folks coming in here under this program, no need for a visa. You're here, you're an OAW, you're fine. Providing a 2-year stay with work authorization, but no path towards permanent status. That's what they got initially. Parole is not admission, so it's easier to revoke than full admission via executive action or court order, as the Trump administration has done for other parole programs like CHMV for Venezuelans and Haitians. But the Afghan context, revocation often fails. Why? Because parolees quickly apply for asylum or adjustment of status, triggering as soon as they apply for asylum. Now that gives them certain protections. The chaotic 2021 evacuation limited vetting, but once paroled, individuals receive deferred action or TPS, halting deportation. So once they get this TPS, which they just have to apply for it, you can't remove them. So they came in here under Biden's stupid OAW that he never actually vetted them, even though he had years to do it. I mean, well, at least, his administration could have done it, been working on it for many months, but the day you saw you're getting out of there, figure out who you bring back with you. But Trump was criticizing the unvetted influx of military planes, implying Biden's rushed parole process bypassed safeguards, leading to later entrenchment. The suspect entered on parole in September 2021, but then he got asylum in 2025. Under the current Trump administration, that highlights how initial leniency leads to harder removal. Once you're lenient on getting them in here in the first place, then they have all these different avenues to sink their claws in to maintain their status here in this country that you cannot legally stop them from sinking in. The INA allows individuals to apply for asylum if they fear persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or social group. Afghans under OAW were prioritized for expeditious processing via the Extending Government Funding and Delivering Emergency Assistance Act of 2021. Yeah, that Democrat law that came in there, that helped enable that we're going to allow these people to entrench themselves after we bring them in here under OAW. That fast-tracked their claims. So this is all the left. This is all Biden. Then, if granted, as in this suspect's case, it leads to LPR status after 1 year via INA 209, then citizenship eligibility after 5 years. Deportation, you know how you get them out? You have to prove fraud or new crimes with full due process, meaning they have to commit a crime and then get prosecuted and convicted, and that individual is denied citizenship. Everyone else they brought in here with no vetting at all, boom, you can now become an American citizen. That's what the Biden administration set up. They set this up with OAW and then with this follow-up law that they passed, which said the Extending Government Funding and Delivering Emergency Assistance Act. They set that up. So they basically brought these people in here and virtually conferred upon them citizenship status unless they commit some crime or there's some sort of fraud that I guess they're not really part of OAW. But all the people who actually helped in Afghanistan and came here under OAW and their family members, all of them, presto changeo, no matter what kind of lunatics they are and what poor vetting we did, boom, they're going to be your fellow American citizens because of what the left did here. That's what these lunatics did. And that's how this guy is here. Even denials often lead to withholding or removal under INA 241B or the UN Convention Against Torture, barring deportation to danger. Immigration courts have a 3 million case backlog. Appeals can take 5 to 10 years, during which individuals can't be removed. Success rates for Afghans are high, 80% due to Taliban threats. Many OAW parolees applied for asylum post-arrival, exploiting the almost impossible removal hurdles. Trump has called for re-examining all such cases, but revoking granted asylum requires reopening proceedings under INA 208C2, which is rare and court-challenged. Then we get to this TPS problem, which is another problem. Under INA 244, that grants TPS to nationals of designated countries facing ongoing armed conflict disasters or extraordinary conditions, like Afghanistan's TPS designation in 2022. So what is this? This is even if you didn't come in here under OAW. Let's say you're not let's say you weren't part of this program the way this shooter was, but you're just here from Afghanistan. Now you got this TPS situation here. Where was the TPS thing that when they first brought it up? I wanted to get the definition of that. What was TPS? Do you remember?
Temporary protected status.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. It should be there somewhere.
Yeah, it was. We went past it. So they got temporary protected status and that shields 9,000 to 14,000 Afghanistans from deportation and provides work permits while they pursue SIVs or asylum. Why is it almost impossible here? TPS defers removal indefinitely during designation, which is renewable every 6 to 18 months, ending it as Trump did in April 2025. So you see, in 2025, he's trying to stop this problem.
He tried to do it. He was stopped by the courts.
Exposes people to deportation, but they can pivot to asylum. So even by removing it, then they say, okay, I won't be TPS. Instead, I'm going to say I need to be here under asylum. The Supreme Court has upheld TPS extensions against challenges, and revocations face lawsuits under the Administrative Procedure Act. So he's trying to remove the TPS designation. Well, and then Trump says TPS was Biden's era safety net for OAW. That, hey, if there's a problem with the OAW law, well, you're still going to have a possibility of staying here under TPS for people who are stuck in limbo. Trump's termination, which was effective May 2025, aimed to enable mass deportations, but ongoing litigation and asylum transitions make it almost impossible for many. I'm going to talk to you now. I don't think we need to cover this last part here about SIVs and LPRs, but yeah, well, we're going to pause here, and I want to share with you the steps he's been taking to try and remove TPS and how the left has stood in his way on that, and our leftist court system has stood in his way on that. This is a report from, what's the date on this? April 11th, 2025. Okay? New York Times put this out April 11, 2025. This is right around the time this guy is getting his approval to stay, which, again, they have to grant the approval unless he's been convicted of a crime. They have to grant it to him.
Yeah, it was accepted by Biden in 2024. So once it was accepted and they said, yeah, you're going to
the only way that the law permits you to not give it to him is if he's been convicted of a crime. How? So he didn't do a crime. But that doesn't mean he's not a lunatic. Doesn't mean he's not a walking time bomb. But he hasn't been convicted of a crime yet. He's allowed to stay. He can become a citizen. Trump administration will end temporary protections for more than 10,000 people from Afghanistan and Cameroon, putting them on track for deportation in May and June. This is what the New York Times was saying. He's ending this. Trump is stopping all this stuff. Department of Homeland Security officials said on Friday, many of the Afghans affected by the decision have been allowed into the United States after the disastrous U.S. withdrawal from the country in 2021. Now the Trump administration could send them back to a country under Taliban rule. So the New York Times is crying, boo-hoo, Trump is trying to remove these Afghans. That's what's happening in April. The Afghans and Cameroonians have been living in the United States legally under temporary protected status, which is meant to shield migrants from being returned to countries facing conflict or natural disasters. People who have the protected status are also allowed to work in the U.S. The Trump has targeted TPS as part of its broad crackdown on immigration. So you see, the Times is telling you Trump is trying to stop TPS, which is going to hurt all these thousands of Afghans who are relying on temporary protected status. And he wants to say they're not temporarily protected. There's no longer any protection. The temporary has ended. No longer protected status is what he wanted to give them. And that's what he tried implementing. That's what he actually did implement, but he was stopped by the court. As you see here, U.S. courts blocked Trump administration from revoking Afghans' protected status. More than 82,000 Afghans have been evacuated after Taliban's takeover. And U.S. appeals court has now blocked the Trump administration from removing a temporary protected status of thousands of Afghans in the United States. Court's documents showed on Monday. This is happening in July. So he took it off in April, saying effective May, you don't have this protected status anymore. In July, U.S. appeals court comes along and says you can't remove it. Now they want to say it's Trump's fault this guy's here. It's like, are you out of your friggin' minds? How you have the audacity to make that claim? U.S. appeals court has for now blocked the Trump administration from removing the temporary protected status of thousands of Afghans. An administrative stay on the termination of temporary protected status for Afghans will remain until the 21st of July. U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit sent a court order in an order granting a request from immigration advocacy organization CASA. Group filed a lawsuit to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The point that I'm getting at here is, right, so this last thing that I had here was supposed to be showing, let's see if I can do it that way. I'm getting all these stupid pop-ups now. No, that didn't work. Damn it. Still getting pop-ups. That's the archive thing that you sent me, is this thing?
That's the different way. That's from the U.S. News and World Report, the story that we already covered.
Yeah,
I believe.
So the point that I'm getting at here is they're trying to come out and say, oh, the only reason he's allowed here is because Trump's court gave him this asylum. By law, they had to, because that's how Biden set up the law, that it's impossible. So yeah, if Trump was the fascist that they say he is, he would have basically said, I don't give a damn. I'm removing him. But he's not. So he's like, that's what our stupid law says. Now they got to try to find a legal hurdle to get how to get out of this legal hurdle. And now this guy roams around and ends up basically shooting a couple of National Guards in the head, or in other means trying to off them while screaming Allahu Akbar.
Mm-hmm.
And the left ones say, "Oh, you know why he's here? Trump. He's here because Trump."
No, and the same people that are doing these lawsuits to CASA and all these different, they're the same people, and the Lawyers Guild. It's all these same people are all involved in all this stuff.
Sickening. It's sickening. It's really, really sickening. So people are nauseating.
Yeah. And so, Trump did with everything he could, and I think now he's just had it.
Nothing redeemable. And now that's why he's saying, now, you know what? F all you third world countries. We're not taking any of you. We're not taking any of you. So he doesn't set up laws, but they're able to get laws passed with his signature on them. 2021 is when when the left had all their control. So
yeah, they had the House and the Senate. Nancy Pelosi pushed it through, but I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying it. Was basically trying to call it Republicans because she said that only 16 Republicans didn't vote for it.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene has basically gone full Candace. She's really going full Candace. So that's the world as I see it. Before we get out of here, I had so many other things I wanted to talk to you about, which I didn't have time to do. There is one thing that I put in our title, which I am going to cover before I get out of here. But now I think you're fully
hit your
caught
goal?
up. I don't think we hit the goal.
Oh man, these people didn't even know what the goal was. And I could explain it to them. They missed out.
I forgot to go through what the goal was. But white or not?
Yeah, white or not. It's a great game we play.
It's a great game that they play over on his channel over
Yeah.
here that I urge you guys to check out. Make sure you look into and make sure you use and watch daily. I'm continually sending you over there, so I don't know why you wouldn't be subbed up to him yet. But
where we pull up all the like crimes, basically, mostly illegal alien crimes, and then we'll just take a gamble on who are they going to be listed as white on the booking sheets, and surprisingly, they usually are. You're not guessing the race at all. You can see the picture, what they look like. It's
But
what
are
did
they
they
listed
put
as
on
white?
the paperwork.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, Charles knows. Oh, white or not?
White. Yeah, pretty sad. Pretty sad. Okay, but speaking of being white or not, there's a university in Minnesota that we know is from that great state because their name is the University of Minnesota that apparently has decided that whiteness is a pandemic. And is that what we wanted? Is that what we wanted there?
No.
I come to you and I basically set this up. I gave you time.
I'm sorry. I thought you had. I got it. Never mind.
You all the
Okay.
time.
All right. No, I got it. One second.
I didn't even get into this whole thing. He's definitely going for legal fees. Steve Sado said he's going for legal fees.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't pull that up either.
I
That's
actually meant this morning. I was like, oh, I should definitely talk about this.
Yeah, Steve Sado. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this
You
up.
think he's going to
Alan.
get him? You think he's going to get him?
Maybe. He's got a decent shot. Yeah, so the news is that the case against Trump that had been taken from Fannie Willis's office because she had that taint of mendacity.
Taint.
She had that taint of mendacity.
He said taint again.
So they tried finding another prosecutor to take it. No one took it. And as of today, it's dead. Gone. Charges dismissed, dropped, gone, adios. The entire Georgia case officially came to a close today. Happy Thanksgiving. It only calls to mind, by the way. It really calls to mind while Jim is digging that up.
I have it.
All right. But we'll come to that in a moment. It calls to mind just what a complete and utter disgrace. What a complete and utter disgrace some of the co-defendants were. I'm really thinking of one person in particular as far as being an utter and total disgrace.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Tim Pool went to town on her.
Yeah.
That disgrace is former Trump attorney Jenna Ellis, who didn't merely decide to cut a deal. She decided, I'm going to allocute. I'm going to get up there and tell you my story. Here was her doing that.
Of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado bar who censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia. Thank you.
You vile woman. I'm sorry, man. I am so pissed. I understand the fear you must have when the state, when the Democratic Party is coming to destroy your life in a political persecution and prosecution. But man, is this pathetic. And now again.
It's more pathetic than Tim even realizes. It's more pathetic than Tim even realizes. Because he's going to point out how, she throws Trump under a bus, which she did.
Charges all dropped.
She's basically, she's like, she was a victim of Trump MAGA world or whatever. And she was, that is called an allocution. When she's standing up there reading from her prepared statement and breaking down in her stupid crocodile tears about how terrible she feels that she was led astray by this Svengali influence of evil Trump. That was not a necessary thing to do. Meaning, they offered her a plea deal, and that stage, which is called allocution, getting up in court and making that statement before the court, is called allocution. She was given a choice to not allocute. She didn't have to say a word. She could have just signed the paper, cutting herself a deal. And had she done that, I would have been like, okay, look, it's pretty gross that you did that right after you took hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from Trump supporters. It's very gross and disgusting, and it makes you feel like you were probably grifting those people, and it makes me feel like a certain way about you. But if I want to try and judge you with erring on the side of caution, judge in your favor with compassion. If I want to display compassion to an individual in that situation, I'd say, you know what? When she started raising the money, she really thought about fighting it. She was intent on fighting it, but she couldn't sleep at night. I mean, she was afraid she's literally going to go to prison for a decade. And she was terrified that she's going to lose. That she's going to come in before a jury here who just decides they hate Trump. And no matter what she did, that even if it wasn't illegal, she's going to spend the rest of her life in jail, see her career ruined, everything about her life destroyed. And she's like, I can't handle this stress. And she decides to cut a deal. So even though she raised all that money, hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to have defense counsel for her, I'd say, okay, you know what? She's just trying to save her neck. And unfortunately, that streak of cowardice, even though, from an outside perspective, didn't look like they had much of a case against her. But I'm not the one whose neck is in the noose. It was her neck in the noose. And she knew that. And, it's a scary thing. So when the weight of the state is pressing down on you and they offer you a deal, which gives you no jail time and ability to continue your life, and you're like, I raised those hundreds of thousands of dollars, you feel bad. But you're like, okay, I got to take this deal. What do you want me to do? I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail? Risk spending the rest of my life in jail if I get a bad jury? So I can understand. I can understand the first step of raising the money. And I understand the second step of, even though you have the money and likely to get a lot more, that you say, I need to get out of here. I can't live like this. I understand that. What I do not understand and will never forgive Jen Ellis for was that moment right there, her allocution. That moment where she got up there and literally threw Trump under a bus because she did not have to do it.
You didn't. Other people pled guilty. Didn't have. And the guilty plea didn't even it was like almost a diversion where after 2 years or something, if
it's gone,
it was gone. It was basically like someone else we know that's, as long as they don't get in any trouble, it's going to be no conviction. It goes away.
Yes. So, and that's essentially what she got. And she was not required to give an allocution in order to get that status, which makes you ask yourself, why was she doing it? What made you decide to go through that? Why go through that whole emotional crying tears thing? Why are you doing that? And there's only one logical reason for why she allocated. And that is that she decided that she's going to try and get embraced by the left. That they will all see her as some prodigal child who strayed away and fell under the influence of evil Trump, as she said, and now she's returned. Now she's one of the good ones. She can be the next Liz Cheney, the next Adam Kinzinger, that she can just waltz into their embrace and say, oh my God, I was another one of Trump's victims. I can't believe I did all that. I'm so humiliated. Love me. Take me on The View. Let me get all these different book deals that I can write. That's why you allocute. So she didn't just take the money of MAGA. She sucked up their money and then turns around and stabbed the very person who caused her to be the beneficiary of all that money and made it seem as if he was the source of evil. He's the one who led her astray. He's the one who confused her. He's the one who knew the law much better than she did, even though she's a lawyer. She's the one who's doing the research, but she knew much, much better. and that he's the one who led her astray, which makes zero sense if you actually think about the fact that she's the one with the legal experience and that she's being charged for the conduct she engaged in as an attorney, that somehow he led her astray and that she's just looking to be the next Adam Kinzinger, the next Liz Cheney, the next lunatic, whatever crazy woman who I never remember to testify J6 about Trump playing TJ Hooker and jumping over the car, grabbing the wheel of the beast, whatever that Cassidy woman is, that she wants to be another one of those stupid affluent white female liberals, and that she should go out there and be embraced by the left, that she's come back and, oh, she's one of the good ones. Give me a spot on a guest spot on MSNBC. Let me be the legal analyst from MSNBC. That's what she's doing there. She's a freaking vile traitor because you didn't have to do it. You're literally a traitor. You're a backstabbing piece of hot garbage. That's what she is. And I am so pleased with the fact that this is on her record. This is there for her forever. This doesn't come away. All the people who stood there bravely shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump, that's all gone. All those charges, gone. Jenna Ellis, that stain will last with you forever. And that humiliating moment where you got up there and started crying like some stupid lunatic lefty of like, I see the light, that you can eat those tears for the rest of your life, and whatever the left laughs at you and you think you can get some warm fuzzy embrace from them, go ahead, go into their purple-haired 16 nose ring embrace of folks who are sometimes a boy and sometimes a girl and sometimes a unicorn, and you can get their loving embrace and whatever amount of love you can feel out of that, because everything about you disgusts an actual true American patriot, because that was vile. That was revolting. That was you completely looking out for yourself and turning on people who actually really cared about your well-being. So eat dust. Anyway, had to get that off my chest. And thanks, Tim, for reminding me about that. All right. So, but I promised you we were going to talk about the University of Minnesota. The show going long.
We're getting a bonus.
This is Jim's job. That's what Jim does.
Yeah, I'm in the chat talking to people. I enjoy it. Joe's chat is much that people don't realize, and I'm not trying to say anything bad, but your chat is like 10 times the size of my chat, so it's almost impossible. I can actually pay attention, and I still miss people's chat, and some people get mad when I miss their chat if I don't see it, and I try to go back and find it.
Yeah.
But when you got a smaller chat, smaller amount of people.
Yes, indeed, Vince. I need to work on that. I need to work on getting in touch with how I really feel. We look, if we hit our goal next time, we will. So there you go. But we didn't do that tonight. So no white or not white. Maybe next week. That'll be our gym goal. One day we'll get there.
One day. But I did promise I was going to cover this last story, so we're going to do that right now. And that is University of Minnesota. Wall Street Apes is sharing out. Americans are out, and I haven't read this story. I can make it bigger. Yeah, make it bigger and read it to me like you're telling me a bedtime story. Okay. Americans are outraged over the University of Minnesota, a taxpayer-funded school, declaring a whiteness pandemic. They're telling moms and dads to re-educate themselves.
Bubla. I said, read it like you're telling me a bedtime story, not read it like Keith Olbermann.
I was reading it like I was telling you a bedtime story, but it's a scary story. No. It's like going to give you nightmares.
No. I meant okay, that I really thought you were doing a Keith Olbermann impression there.
No, I was just trying to get the point across that this should outrage everyone.
No. Let's just give it to me like I'm getting comfortable in bed.
Oh, okay.
I'll even take my tie off, so this way people know that like we're serious now. This is the last story of the day.
All right. Americans are outraged over the University of Minnesota, a taxpayer-funded school declaring a whiteness pandemic. They're telling moms and dads.
What the heck is a whiteness pandemic? I think about this for a moment. Okay, I'm not going to read along with you. I don't have the story here. I'm sort of like looking away so I can. What the hell could a whiteness pandemic even mean? Because a pandemic means, obviously it's a disease that's spreading. So does this mean people are becoming whiter? Because the only time people are becoming whiter is on police reports that when you get black folk, Mexican folk, Asian folk, Hispanic folk, basically, when they're charged with a crime, that they're listed as being white. So all the white Cubans.
Maybe that's a pandemic. Afro-Cubans.
Maybe that's a pandemic. I don't know. Okay,
all the Zimmerman, the white Hispanics, all those.
When Jim told me about this story, he goes, "Yeah, University of Minnesota said that there's a whiteness pandemic." So what did I tell you there? What did I say? Do you remember?
What does that even mean?
And I also said, you know what? Don't tell me anything. I want to hear about this on the air. I need to hear about this.
All right. I do have, when this is done, I do have Senator Klobuchar explains this, gives us her reasoning for it. So, and you're going to love it, but we'll get to that.
Go for it.
So, they're telling moms and dads to re-educate themselves and halt this whiteness pandemic like it's a disease that needs a cure. Forget inflation, illegal immigration chaos, kids failing at math. The real crisis, according to them, is white parents existing.
Well, that's it's true that some of them exist.
One study they cite surveyed mostly liberal white women, which would be called awfuls, making $125,000 plus, who apparently concluded that color blindness, passivity, and white fragility are all part of the same problem. And the project's funding comes partly from the National Institute of Mental Health. That's right. Your tax dollars.
A bunch of lunatics basically came together and they said, "Hey, there's such a thing as a white pandemic."
Your tax
I still
dollars.
understand. So what is the pandemic? Like what is maybe
we're gonna have to. There's an actual story we're gonna have to read. I guess
right,
this is just a tweet, and that's right. Your tax dollars are paying to label white families.
Let's read this story.
Systemic racial.
Let's read the story. I want to hear the story. I don't want to. As much.
Well, want to hear this lady explain it to you?
Okay.
It's very.
That's
this lady who has a very distinct haircut.
The University of Minnesota, a taxpayer-funded school, just declared a whiteness pandemic. Forget inflation, illegal immigration chaos, or kids failing at math. The real crisis, according to them, is white parents existing. They're telling moms and dads to re-educate themselves and to halt the whiteness pandemic like it's some sort of disease that needs a cure. I mean, come on. You can't say men can't have babies, but then suddenly universities can diagnose an entire race as a disease. One study they cite surveyed mostly liberal white women making $125,000 plus a year, who apparently concluded that colorblindness, passivity, and white fragility are all part of the problem. Oh, and the project's funding comes partly from the National Institute of Mental Health. That's right, your tax dollars paying to label white families as systemic racism incubators. This is what happens when woke universities replace education with indoctrination. We all know they're not teaching kids to think, they're teaching them to hate themselves, their country, and their families. Parents, stop apologizing for who you are and stand up for what's right. They're calling it a pandemic, but I call it pride in my country, and I don't plan on curing that anytime soon.
So he was basically telling us what she wrote. I really want to hear the article.
Well, so University of Minnesota project declares whiteness a pandemic that parents are obligated to halt and reverse. So they're telling parents that they need to have abortions maybe, or kill their kids or kill themselves. I don't know, because that's what it sounds like to me. How would you halt it and reverse it?
We need to hear. They need to walk us through it.
The website describes the family system as one of the most powerful systems involved in systemic racism. That's right. Modern families, your family, the nuclear family, is racist.
I just need the story.
Okay. Well, listen. I can listen to the article. Want to push play and listen to them?
Okay, let's listen to the article.
U of M project declares whiteness a pandemic that parents are obligated to halt and reverse. The University of Minnesota is facing criticism for hosting a page on its website that brands whiteness as a pandemic. The Whiteness Pandemic page, featured on the website of the Culture and Family Life Lab at the U of M's Institute of Child Development, leans heavily on a 2021 academic paper analyzing how white Minneapolis mothers talk to their children after George Floyd's death, a report from Defending Education first revealed. According to the study, published in American Psychologist, most mothers were apathetic, fearful, or simply overwhelmed and avoided discussing racism with their kids.
Oh my God.
Only 17% reportedly demonstrated what researchers called more advanced white racial identity development, engaging in color and power-conscious parenting.
Pause.
We at Defending Ed discovered that.
Yeah, you see, what they're basically saying is they're not raising their kids the way we're demanding that they raise their kids. Unfortunately, way too many white people are not sitting there self-involved in and self-flagellating themselves. I said flagellating themselves with whips and knotted whips and ropes, and basically punishing themselves and doing penance for the whiteness of their skin. So we need to basically call attention to this, that it's creating this whiteness pandemic where people are not ashamed of the fact that they are white. How dare they have the audacity to not be ashamed of their skin color? How dare they? We have to pass moral judgment on these people because they are not sufficiently ashamed of their color, because we're ashamed of their color. And how dare they not be ashamed of their color? We think it's disgusting that they're not as ashamed of their color as they are, because that shows you just how racist they are, that they don't even recognize that they're racist. They're such big racists that they don't even recognize that they're racists. This is literally like identical twins doing a circle jerk. This is what we're seeing here. Whereas, like, I'm literally trying to figure out how. And this is unbelievable, unbelievable. All right, let's hear more.
I'll read it because I don't know. I don't like that AI voice. I don't because it's a woman, and she feels. I feel like she's lecturing me.
She's taking your job. That's really the problem.
Yeah. So they discovered that the University of Minnesota is warning against a white pandemic and providing resources on how to halt and reverse it. Among the insanities, the family system is one of the most powerful systems involved in systemic racism.
Of course it is. Because, you see, they're finally admitting our entire agenda is to deconstruct the nuclear family. We have to deconstruct the nuclear family. That's why they are the enemy. That's what they're declaring here. The nuclear family structure is the enemy. We need to make sure that people turn on their parents, that way they become dependent on the state, and that way, and whatever influences we can give them. Unfortunately, no matter how hard we try to brainwash these kids, far too many of them have strong family ties. And we need to cut that off because it's harming our ability to fully dominate their lives. That's what this is saying. Sick people.
Yeah, Jonathan Turley says that the University of Minnesota website is moving from woke to delirious insomnia in a website's message for people to be re-educated to fight the whiteness pandemic in this radicalized society. Wow.
Oh, God. Go on.
Yeah, so the web page characterizes whiteness as centuries-old culture defined by color blindness, passivity, and white fragility, which it labels covert expressions of racism. So I guess what they're saying is Martin Luther King, huge racist.
Yeah,
huge racist.
But this is so stupid. This is like me saying because you're black, you're a racist. Which I'm sure a lot of people will probably think that. In fact, I know a lot of black people who think that black people are a lot more racist than white people. A lot more racist. I've heard a lot of black people say that. Pretty sure I heard Nat'l.
That judging people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin makes you a racist today.
That's sickening. That's so sickening.
Yeah. Naming the whiteness pandemic shifts our gaze from the victims and effects of racism onto the systems that perpetrate and perpetuate racism, starting with the family system.
I said, they need to attack the family structure. And by the way, whatever they need to attack is a reminder to you how important it is that you reaffirm and strengthen those very systems. The very systems they're trying to destabilize are the ones that you should be working extra hard to make sure as formidable as possible, because it's under attack. those systems that you rely on to have a healthy, secure life are under attack. That's what they're saying. We're declaring war on those systems. They have their own agendas, how they're saying it. I'm telling you how you need to read these articles. You need to read these articles. It's like, oh my God, I need to make sure that my kids know I love them.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that they really know that. I need to tell them that more directly, because they need to know that they can always come to me, and that sometimes they're going to screw up. Sometimes they're going to do things that are going to disappoint me or even piss the hell out of me. But even when they do those things, I'm always going to love them because they're my kid. And I really need them to know that, because if they don't know that, in that case, they're going to come across jackasses like the people who wrote this thing here, who are going to try to deconstruct our nuclear family and basically take them off into their cult-like perspectives of being radicalized into thinking that they're evil people because they're white, or they're lesser thans because they're white. If you actually care about your kids, you need them to know that they love you, and you need to fortify and strengthen your own family structure, because this is their declaration of war on the family structure.
Now, do you think, and this is not a sidetrack, this is a serious question. Do you think that when, like prior to the passage of the whatever it was, like not the New Deal, but the New Deal was the start of it, but the Great Society, you know, the African American community had a higher percentage of, you know, married, you know, like they had less births out of wedlock, and you know, had stronger marriages, less divorce, and all this stuff, a stronger family. And then all of a sudden a system was passed to just, do you think they're saying, well, we need to destroy the other families the way that this family were destroyed? Or do you think they just hate families?
No. The objective is to destroy all families. They already destroyed the black family, right? I mean, what percentage of kids are born into of black children are born into a two-parent system?
It's right now. It's got to be like,
married two parents.
Yeah, 10%, maybe 15% tops.
See, that's non-existent.
Yeah,
that's
it was high. It was higher.
non-existent.
It was actually higher prior to that. You know, in the 50s, it was like.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
I mean, it was higher than white families.
No. So the two things that really there are really three things that. It's four things that you can really pin it on. You have the sexual revolution mixing together with promoting abortion as being like, you know, a good thing to do, right? So the sexual revolution is like, wow, it's a lot of fun to engage in sex with as many people as you can. So there's the sexual revolution, which then becomes unencumbered by the difficulty of actually repercussions of sex, i.e. having children. So they have Margaret Sanger coming in here, and all the crazy leftists basically saying, let's just abort them. Let's just kill all those fetuses. So in that sense, so you have those two elements, and then you have a culture, and then you have a culture which is a disastrous, self-destructive culture of a recognition that we are oppressed and that we cannot possibly get ahead. The American system cannot possibly work for us. Education doesn't work for us, and this cyclical self, it's a helplessness of self-victimization mentality of we are victims and we always will be victims, and we're basically screwed because the system is here designed against us. And that leads you into thinking the only way out of this is either you join a gang or you become a superstar in sports and basically make your money that way and get your way out of the ghetto. But basically that's the overall overriding culture for far too many black youths. Not all of them, thank God, but for far too many of them. You mix in with that, then now you have this culture of now you have this system of, you know, having all these fathers who end up basically committing crimes and then getting sent away. So now they're raised without having a dad in the home. And so what are you left with if you're a teenage kid and your dad's in prison, or your dad never really spoke to your mom for 10 minutes after he knocked her up? Well, you're basically being raised by your friends when you're from the time you're 10 years old. Your mom's working two jobs to actually be able to if if she cares about you, she's probably had to kill herself to like put bread on the table. So who the hell are you hanging out with from the time you're before you even reach your adolescence and until you're hanging out in gangs, which basically are perpetuating this of drugs and crime, and that's how you get ahead. And that's how you get, if you hustle and if you show you're street tough and that you're actually cool and tough and that you can actually, know how to handle yourself in a difficult situation, and you can look the bigger thug you are, the more respect you earn. So why the hell wouldn't you be doing that if you have any sort of cojones? You're certainly going to think that going to school, the entire culture is one of saying that education is a waste of time and for suckers. So this is a very self-defeating culture, which should not persist, but is there and is dominant. So it's not surprising. And then, so what ends up happening? You end up, having success and getting popular for a while, probably getting on drugs a lot, start dealing drugs or engaging in other types of violent crime. And then you end up going to prison. And on the way, you knock up some other woman and she's got a kid now, who's now where you were, but just 20 years behind you. It's just wash, rinse, repeat. So it's a culture, which basically is a culture of hopelessness, which they need to climb out of, and putting them on a welfare type of system where it's okay, the state's going to take care of you and basically let you live like a trapped pauper for the rest of your life by making sure that you can have enough to eat, but not enough to like actually grow. And I'm not advocating for more welfare. Don't take it that way. No, I'm saying quite the contrary. I'm saying that the systems here, I think to a large degree, are designed to help perpetuate this system. The way we give more money, you have another kid, so you end up giving you more money, almost incentivizes them having more greater number of kids in a single mother house, which is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I would say that the same people would always say it's not socioeconomics that cause all these problems, but yet they're going to sit here and they're going to now turn it and make it about being white.
Yeah, for some reason this is white people's fault.
Yeah. So
yeah, somehow.
Anyway, so at birth, young children grow up in white families, begin to be socialized into the culture of whiteness.
Thanks for the raid, RPP, by the way.
Yes, making the family system one of the most powerful systems involved in systemic racism.
No, of course.
How dare they? The site ties racism itself to public health language, calling it both an epidemic and a pandemic, and claims that whiteness is the underlying cultural force keeping it alive.
Naturally.
But they keep saying that whites don't have any culture. That's what they all say too. You don't have no culture. So what the
culture? The culture is stepping on the throat of the black man.
Yeah. Make up your mind. I'm going around in circles trying to make them happy. So if you were born or raised in the United States, you have grown up in the whiteness pandemic.
Oh my God.
White adults, because of their power and privilege. Yes, all that power and privilege in the Appalachian Mountains.
Basically, what they're basically saying is they're embracing that stupid book, White Fragility by Robin DeAngelis, or whatever her stupid name is, and saying that we're all sinners because we're white. Whatever that. How much longer is this?
It's not that much longer. It's not that much longer. He's in that you have a special obligation to halt and reverse this pandemic. And the project dedicates itself to George Floyd and all the other people who overdosed on heroin while being apprehended by the police. I'm sorry, fentanyl, not heroin. Dedicates its work to the living memory of George St. Floyd, Dante Wright, and dozens of... Dante, was that the guy with the fucking knife that tried to stab the cops and was kidnapping the kids after he raped?
I think so.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Creators include...
Why? Because they're black and brown folk who were killed by police while being lunatics that they were killed by police. This is their heroes.
Yeah. Since 1968. Creators lab director is Gail M. Ferguson. So she's the one pushing it. She also believes that children born in white families raised... So do you want to hear her talk?
This stupid black racist?
Up to you. Want to hear her talk?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
So the University of Minnesota has a page, and they're talking about all this stuff, and project development. But anyway, I have the project urges self-reflection, re-education, and anti-racist parenting.
Yeah, because it's basically a black woman who's complaining about the fact that she's black and that there are white people out there. The world there's already too many Joy Reids in the world as it is. Like she's just basically hoping she become another Joy Reid. That's essentially.
I do. Before we go, though, I do need to show you that.
I got a couple of chats. I got.
Amy Klobuchar explains why this happened.
Trump pardoned Jenna Ellis. Trump is loyal. He's far too generous. Kim was right. Black complexion is good. Nice. Government alone can dictate your life. And thank you for the check, Carly. Appreciate that. That's very thoughtful. All right, so let's hear from Amy.
I'm sharing it.
Oh, that's what you're saying? You're saying that part's on me?
Yeah, see, so it's... Oh, wait, here, that was my reply. So Amy Klobuchar says that Minnesota is home to the largest Karen population in the country. And we know positive impacts they've had in our state.
What the hell does that even mean?
She's a Karen. That lady in Minnesota with the haircut was a Karen. There's all Karens in Minnesota.
That lady there was critiquing this, by the way.
I know she fooled us with the haircut. She tricked us. She bamboozled us.
Yeah.
I tagged you in this.
Oh,
I was like, good. Minnesota's home to the most Karens, laughing my ass off. It's the largest Karen population.
Let's see what Amy. What else did she say?
That was it. Oh, people fleeing war and violence should be able to find refuge.
Yeah, no, that's not true. That's not true. They shouldn't. They should find refuge in the nearest country.
Oh.
That's where they should find it. In the nearest country, not here.
Yeah, so that was it. It was just, as I said, it was just a quick thing.
You know what? And here's the point I'll make on what Amy Klobuchar is saying. It's like if you're fearing war and violence, you should deserve refuge here. Really? What if they're a lunatic who's fearing war and violence? Like, just fundamentally, and think of how stupid this senator is. Is that really a healthy perspective to have? That if someone is just psychotic and folks are trying to kill him, that we should be giving them refuge. Like, why? Why would you do that? No, you definitely should not be giving everyone who fears violence refuge. A sizable percentage of them are likely not purely victims. Large percentage of them might really be very, very evil people, more evil than the people chasing them. And there could be people chasing them, but not everyone. It's not as if as soon as someone becomes a victim that they automatically become a saintly person. A lot of really terrible people can be victimized. So just not everyone who's a victim is a terrible person.
Just remember, though, there's only one letter difference between refuge and refuse. And what do you do with a refuse? You put it in a dump. Right.
Look, there are some refugees who might need and merit refuge, but only a tard would make such a global statement that America should be here as the refuge for anyone who's being persecuted. No, that's evil. That's an evil perspective. It shows you don't care about your own constituents. You don't care about your own constituents because you don't mind putting them in harm's way. That you're saying, well, since this person is genuinely being chased by a cartel. Yeah, in other words, you want to know what makes someone chased by a cartel? You know what the secret is to being chased by a cartel? It's that you run a cartel yourself and then you lose. You lose a war with another cartel. And now they want to finish you off. So, and when you were running a cartel, what were you doing? You were turning other people into victims because you're a lunatic yourself. But now you lost. You lost the war. So now they want to come and hunt you down. And now you're a victim. So all the people who you basically were butchering, killing, and destroying, well, forget about that because now someone's trying to kill you. To hell with that. To hell with Amy Klobuchar. She's an idiot. She's either an idiot or a liar. Either she's thought this through. Either she hasn't thought this through and she's a moron, or she has thought it through and realizes how stupid what she's saying is, and she doesn't care about the harm she's having in America by propagating that type of self-destructive perspective. So she's either evil or an idiot. There's no other choice. There's no option 3 here for Amy Klobuchar. She's either a complete and total moron or she's evil. So I don't know. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and just assume that her stupid haircut is a reflection of the fact that she's a very genuinely stupid person. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But either way, she's certainly not someone who should be given a microphone or be having a vote. It's horrifying. I mean,
Definitely don't let her.
screwed up.
Definitely don't ever let her use your comb.
Why don't you tell people where they can find you, my brother?
You can find me on Rumble or YouTube. The channel is Jim Tells You. I stream every night. I was doing 10 o'clock, but I've been going 9 o'clock since Joe made his earlier shift, so I could take advantage of all his wonderful fans that can get sent to me.
Yes.
And then on weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I usually stream 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whenever I get around to it.
Yeah.
But I stream 7 nights a week, just about every night, to tell you the news and what I think about it. And I try not to yell a lot. It doesn't work.
Me too. Me too. I'm in counseling. Actually, I find my yelling to be very, very cathartic. It makes me feel better when I get it off, and then I'm done. I won't be thinking about Janet Ellis later. In a moment, I'm feeling it. I get it out. I express it, and I'm like, wow, you really suck. And there's a lot of reasons to look at you with utter contempt. And then I'm done, and I don't think about her anymore. And and I lead a very happy life, thank God, where I'm just basically like, I have something that this makes me feel a certain way. I get it out to you guys. Folks seem to enjoy hearing me rant about it, and then I just like, okay, let's move on to the next thing. Like, let's go have a good time with something else. So I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. Please make sure you sign up to Jim Tells You. I need to put a link in the thing. If you give me a link there, I'll try and paste it in the chat.
I already pasted it in the chat.
You pasted it in the chat?
Yeah, I already pasted it in the chat. I don't know.
Did you pin it? Did you pin it?
I didn't pin it. No.
Why not?
I can't pin.
You can't pin?
I don't think so.
Well, it's pinned in the chat now. And if you let me copy and paste, can I copy and paste it?
I put it in a private chat too, so
I can copy and paste it. All right. I'll put it in. Is it in Rumble? Is it pinned in Rumble? I'll pin it in Rumble here, so you guys who want to find him over there can now. It's
really the same channel name on Rumble.
Same channel name on Rumble.
And I'm also on X at Jim Satala on X. I have Jim Tells You on X too, but I don't really use it. I just got it so no one else can take it.
All right. And why is it not?
And I'm on Twitch and on Kick and on what else? Locals at Jim Tells You on Locals. And yeah. And basically Jim Tells You everywhere.
It's Jim. It's basically Jim, and that's because Jim does tell you. And he tells me. Sometimes he's telling me. Sometimes he's telling you. But there's always people that he has to tell. Thank God.
Sometimes I'm telling my grandson, but he doesn't listen.
Yeah, for one reason or another, it's not letting me. Oh, now it's going there. God, it took a long time. All right.
Yeah, StreamYard really's got to get that fixed so that you can, when you post and StreamYard,
I'm in the
it goes
YouTube
to Rumble too.
I'm in the YouTube studio, and it's just my computer is running slow. I don't know why. But I'm good now.
All right.
Why is it not letting me save this now? All right. Well, it's going to be in the description. By the time you're looking at the description, they'll be there in the description. Oh, I know why. This thing pasted like 3 times when this was going slow. Okay. I have it, well, a lot of times.
Oh, Neurodivergent one already posted it in the Rumble chat. He said, let you know. He took care of Rumble.
Oh my gosh. It gave this whole... I gotta reload without putting it in. You're gonna have to give it to me in the
private chat again? All right.
Give it to me over there. So this way I'm able to just copy it there. I got it there. Okay, fine. Yeah, so what did I need to tell you? Tomorrow, God willing, I'm going to be I think we're having an episode of Layback Law, and that should be like around noon. And then Sunday evening, I'm going to try to stream Saturday nights. I'm really, really hoping that the streaming will happen Saturday night. Probably around 10, 11 o'clock is when I'll start. You'll find, you'll hear about that first if you go to goodlogic.locals.com. That's goodlogic.locals.com. You get all my notifications there. And on Sunday, I'm supposed to be debating Destiny. I have what they call a date with Destiny, where I'm looking to obliterate Destiny. Not just me, but Andrew Branca and I will be debating Destiny and somebody named Soy Pill Boy or something. I don't know, something like that, about whether or not Trump is to blame for the shooting of the 2 National Guards. That's what the debate's supposed to be. That you'll find a link for that. If it's not here in YouTube and Rumble, certainly I'll provide a link where you can watch it elsewhere. But I'm going to try and stream that here from this channel Sunday evening as well. I hope you all have a phenomenal weekend. No matter what part of the world you're in, even if you're having barbecues there, make sure that you remember that lab meat was never meant for you. It's meant for they, them. You should stay away from it. It's not something you ever want to have anything to do with. Trust me, I know. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Never do it. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, Godspeed.